movement becomes lighter and more enjoyable when shared. For some, that means joining a local class for seniors, where laughter and encouragement flow as freely as the exercise itself. For others, it may be as simple as walking with a spouse, a friend, or even a grandchild. Companionship turns activity into connection, and that sense of belonging often matters as much as the physical benefit. When you know someone is expecting you for a walk or a class, it becomes harder to skip. What once felt like obligation turns into a moment of joy and social warmth. Finding activities that align with personal enjoyment is another key. If you love music, try gentle dance or rhythm-based movement. If you enjoy nature, go for short hikes or garden with purpose. If balance and mindfulness appeal to you, explore yoga or Tai Chi, which blend breath and motion into calming yet strengthening practices. The secret is not to force yourself into a routine you dread, but to discover the movements that bring genuine satisfaction. Enjoyment fuels consistency, and consistency is what brings long-term benefit. Finally, motivation deepens when tied to something greater than the activity itself. Moving your body is not just about today's energy, it is about tomorrow's freedom. It is about being able to rise from a chair, unassisted, walk into a room confidently, or embrace a loved one without hesitation. Every small act of exercise becomes an investment in independence, dignity, and joy. Remind yourself that you are not just moving for the sake of movement, you are moving for the life you want to keep living. That vision of freedom is often the most powerful motivator of all. These strategies, starting small, integrating activity into daily life, seeking companionship, choosing enjoyable movements, and focusing on independence, combine to form a path forward that feels realistic and uplifting. They turn the idea of exercise from something overwhelming into something accessible. The most profound truth is this: it is never too late to begin. Every step, no matter how small, is a step away from decline and a step toward strength, confidence, and vitality. And as you begin to embrace this mindset, you'll find that movement is not a burden. It is a gift waiting to be opened every single day. There is one truth that often gets overlooked when we speak about movement in later years. Exercise is not only about preventing decline, it is about opening the door to a fuller, more vibrant life. Too many people see activity as a chore or a duty, something they should do because the doctor recommends it. But the deeper reality is that consistent movement enriches life in ways that reach far beyond physical health. It shapes mood, lifts energy, sharpens memory, and even deepens the sense of connection to others. Inactivity may drain the body slowly, but activity restores life to the spirit as much as to the muscles. Think for a moment about sleep, one of the most overlooked treasures of aging. When the body is active, the mind rests better. Gentle walks, stretching, or light evening routines help the body release tension and prepare for restorative rest. Without movement, sleep becomes fragmented, shallow, and restless. Those nights of poor rest accumulate into days of fatigue and irritability. But with regular activity, many older adults notice that they fall asleep more easily, stay asleep longer, and wake up with a clearer mind. That gift of rest is not minor. It touches every corner of life, from mood to memory. Movement also has a remarkable impact on mental health. Studies show that physical activity stimulates the release of chemicals in the brain that foster calmness, reduce feelings of anxiety, and create a sense of well-being. For older adults, this means more than just happiness. It means resilience. With exercise, daily worries feel lighter, setbacks feel less overwhelming, and joy feels more accessible. In a world where loneliness and isolation weigh heavily, the power of exercise to lift the spirit cannot be underestimated. It reminds us that the mind and body are not separate, but intimately linked. There is also a profound sense of confidence that comes from knowing your body can still carry you where you want to go. When you can walk without hesitation, rise from a chair without help, or bend to pick up something from the floor, you reclaim a sense of freedom. That independence is priceless. It means being able to attend family gatherings, play with grandchildren, or enjoy a stroll in the park without fear of falling behind. Independence is not given. It is earned daily through the choice to move. And every step, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that you are still in control of your own life. Another layer of benefit comes from the way movement fosters social connection. Many seniors who commit to regular activity find themselves part of a community, walking groups, yoga classes, or even informal morning gatherings at the local park. These interactions bring conversation, laughter, and a sense of belonging that is as nourishing as the exercise itself. When the body moves, the heart opens and relationships deepen. For many, this connection becomes the true reward, transforming exercise from a solitary task into a shared celebration of life. Perhaps most important, movement nurtures hope. Every stretch, every step, every breath taken during exercise is a reminder that life still holds possibility. Even if age has brought challenges, even if the body carries scars of time, the act of choosing to move is a declaration that life is still worth engaging in fully. Movement says, I am here, I am alive, and I choose to live with energy rather than surrender to stillness. So, when we think of exercise in later life, we must stop seeing it as a burden. It is not about counting minutes or measuring miles. It is about embracing the countless ways it enriches every part of living. From sleep to mood, from independence to relationships, from confidence to hope, the impact is far deeper than we often realize. And while the earlier sections spoke of risks and consequences, this is the other side of the story. Movement is not merely about avoiding illness. It is about claiming the joy and dignity that every person deserves. And as we move forward, we will look even closer at the practical ways to bring these benefits into daily life so that they are not just ideas, but realities you can feel and experience. As we bring all of this together, the message becomes clear. Life after 60 is not about surrendering to time, but about choosing how we live each day. The years behind you carry memories, wisdom, and experience, but the years ahead can still carry strength, joy, and freedom if you are willing to care for your body and spirit. Inactivity is a quiet thief, taking away energy little by little, but movement is a gentle gift that gives back more than it asks. Each step, each stretch, each moment you choose to move is an act of self-respect and love for the life you still want to live. Think about the small victories that matter most. Being able to get out of bed without struggle, enjoying a walk with a neighbor, standing long enough to cook your favorite meal, laughing and playing with grandchildren without running out of breath. These moments are the true treasures of later life, and they are all fueled by the decision to stay active. The body may not respond the way it did at 20 or 30, but it still responds, and it still rewards you when you nurture it with consistent movement. What matters is not perfection, but persistence. A short walk, a set of gentle stretches, or even dancing slowly to your favorite song in the living room can make all the difference when practiced regularly. The deeper lesson here is that aging is not just about surviving, it is about living well. Activity gives you independence, and independence gives you dignity. It keeps you connected to yourself, to your loved ones, and to the world around you. The habit of moving daily is more than exercise. It is a way of telling yourself that you still belong fully in the story of your own life. When you decide to keep moving, you are not only protecting your health, you are nurturing your confidence and your joy. For those of you watching, here is the practical takeaway. Do not wait for the perfect plan, the perfect time, or the perfect condition to begin. Start with what you can do right now. Walk around your home, lift your arms and breathe deeply, or take a few steps outside and enjoy the air. Make it simple and repeatable. Over time, these small efforts will add up and create big changes in how you feel every day. And remember, it is never too late to begin. Every choice you make now can brighten tomorrow. Before we close, I want to ask you something. If you had to choose one, would you rather spend your later years depending on others for basic tasks, or living with enough strength to keep your independence a little longer? Please share your answer in the comments. Your perspective might inspire someone else today. And if this message has touched you, if you find meaning or encouragement here, we kindly ask you to support us. If you feel this video was valuable, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts and share it with your friends or family so more people can benefit from these reminders. At Beyond 60 Wisdom, we are honored to walk this journey with you each day. Your voices, your support, and your stories give us the energy to keep creating more content filled with care and inspiration. Thank you deeply from the heart for being here. We look forward to growing stronger together, one step at a time. Imagine waking up each morning after 60, believing that nothing new can truly change your life. What if I told you that the smallest actions you take in those first waking moments could shape not just your day, but the way you experience the years ahead? This is not about grand promises or miracle fixes. It's about overlooked, ordinary choices that quietly hold extraordinary power. The reality is, many of us slip into routines after 60, thinking that aging means slowing down, accepting decline, and waiting for life to pass gently. But that belief is one of the most dangerous myths of getting older. What you do each morning can either drain your vitality little by little or recharge you with an energy that carries throughout the day. Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone. If you're listening right now, I want you to pause and truly reflect. Every sunrise gives us a decision. Do we follow the same path of habit that slowly weakens both body and spirit? Or do we dare to choose 5 simple actions that keep our minds clearer, our steps steadier, and our hearts lighter? This video will not just tell you what to do, it will reveal why these actions matter more than most people realize. And here is the part that should startle you. Most older adults unknowingly ignore these habits, and in doing so, they surrender their health, their confidence, and even their joy long before it is necessary. Think about that for a moment. The difference between feeling drained by noon and moving through the day with vitality often comes down to a handful of choices in the first hour after waking. Imagine standing at a crossroads every morning. One road leading to stiffness, fatigue, and low spirits, the other guiding you toward clarity, energy, and strength. Which road would you choose if you knew how simple the steps really are? That's the heart of what we're exploring today. I invite you to stay with me until the very end, because each of these 5 morning practices is like a small puzzle piece. Alone, it may seem ordinary, almost too simple to matter, but when you place them together, they create a picture of daily life that feels brighter, steadier, and more under your control. And this is what so many people after 60 are desperately searching for. Not a promise of living forever, but a way to live better right now. Before we dive in, let me ask for a small favor. If you find this message valuable, please take a moment to subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom. By doing so, you're not just supporting this channel, you're encouraging the creation of more content that brings clarity, encouragement, and strength to people just like you. Your support is what gives us the motivation to keep producing videos that matter. Now, here's something to think about while you listen. I want you to answer honestly and share your thoughts in the comments below. If you had to choose, which one matters more for a fulfilling life after 60? A. Protecting and strengthening your physical energy each day. B. Nurturing your emotional peace and sense of connection. Comment your answer, A or B, and tell us why. There's no right or wrong, but your choice may reveal what your heart values most right now. And as you reflect, stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll discover how just 5 small morning steps can shape both. When you rise in the morning after 60, your body has already been working through the night, repairing, rebalancing, and quietly sustaining you. Yet when the first light slips through the window, it's as if your system is still half asleep, waiting for your choice to either keep drifting or to awaken fully. This is why those first minutes matter so deeply, and why one of the most vital things you can do is to gently start the body moving and give it what it longs for after hours of rest. A simple glass of warm water is often overlooked, but think of it as the spark that wakes the inner engine. After a night of natural dehydration, your cells are thirsty, your circulation is sluggish, and your digestion is waiting to be nudged awake. That sip of warm water is like a soft knock on the door of every organ, telling it, it's time to begin. You don't need anything fancy, just water at the right temperature to ease your stomach and ready your body for the day's work. And once the body has been reminded it is alive, comes the second key, movement. At this stage of life, many assume that true exercise must be intense or demanding, but the truth is far gentler. What you need most is not to conquer miles or lift heavy weights, but to honor your body by keeping it flexible and flowing. 10 to 15 minutes of light stretching, slow walking, or even rolling your shoulders and turning your head can make an astonishing difference. Picture a machine that has been idle all night. If you try to run it suddenly at full speed, it resists, it creaks, it may even break. But if you ease it into motion, piece by piece, it warms up, it responds, and soon it hums. Your body is no different. The joints loosen, the blood begins to circulate, and stiffness slowly releases its grip. This is not about chasing youth or pretending to be 20 again. It's about preserving dignity, balance, and independence by treating the body with respect. Too many older adults ignore these moments, telling themselves that movement can wait or that water doesn't matter. But in truth, these small choices accumulate, silently shaping how strong you feel, how steady you walk, and even how confident you are when you step outside your door. Every morning is an invitation to choose life in motion rather than life in decline. There is also something quietly sacred about this ritual. The warmth of water sliding down, the slow stretch of muscles awakening, the rhythm of breath sinking with gentle steps, it is a reminder that you are still here, still capable, still blessed with another day to live. It's not dramatic, not glamorous, but it is deeply human. And perhaps that is what makes it powerful. These are not grand sacrifices or heavy burdens. They are whispers of self-care that grow louder when practiced daily. As you commit to these two small acts, hydrating with intention and moving with kindness, you begin to notice subtle changes. The mornings feel less heavy, your mind feels a bit clearer, and the stiffness that once made you dread getting out of bed begins to loosen its hold. These are not promises of miracles, but steady returns for steady effort. And that is the wisdom age has always taught us, that consistency matters more than extremes, and that gentleness often triumphs over force. So tomorrow, before you let the rush of the day take over, give yourself those first few minutes. Drink slowly, breathe deeply, move gently. Let your body know it is valued, and it will reward you with strength you didn't realize was still within reach. These are the choices that shape not only your health, but the way you carry yourself into each new day. And in that quiet power, there is freedom. There is a kind of nourishment that water and food alone cannot provide, and it is something that becomes even more essential as the years accumulate. I'm talking about the quiet feeding of the mind and the calming of the spirit. When you wake each morning, your body may begin to stir through movement and hydration, but the heart and mind still wait for their own kind of awakening. This is where the practice of breathing deeply, of pausing in stillness, can shift the entire direction of your day. It does not require a mountaintop or a meditation retreat. It can happen in your favorite chair, with your feet firmly on the floor, eyes gently closed, and attention turned inward. 3 minutes of slow, intentional breathing, drawing air in, letting it fill the lungs, and releasing it with care, has the power to steady nerves, quiet racing thoughts, and soften the weight of worries that often linger at this stage of life. The beauty of these few minutes lies in their simplicity. The world will not pause for you, yet in that short practice, you create space where your mind and heart are no longer pulled in a dozen directions. Many people think of calm as something they must chase, but in truth, it is something you allow. When you breathe this way, your body sends a message to the nervous system. It is safe, it can relax, and it can release the tension carried overnight. Blood pressure settles, the shoulders ease, and a sense of clarity arrives. It's remarkable how something so basic, breath, becomes a form of medicine for the spirit when practiced with intention. But it doesn't have to stop there. Some mornings, after breathing, you may find comfort in opening a small book of wisdom, a page or two that stirs reflection rather than rush. Or perhaps you write down one line of gratitude, one thing, no matter how small, you are thankful for. These small acts are more than habits. They are rituals of meaning. They remind you that life, even in its later chapters, is still rich with purpose and with gifts waiting to be noticed. They teach you that the soul, like the body, needs its own exercise to remain strong. Consider how different a day feels when it begins in hurried distraction versus when it begins in mindful calm. The contrast is striking. Without this pause, it is easy to fall into a rhythm where the hours feel heavy and unmanageable. But when you start with stillness, the same challenges seem lighter, the same tasks less overwhelming, and even ordinary routines are approached with more patience. This is not about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It is about giving yourself the strength and resilience to meet whatever comes with steadiness instead of strain. As people grow older, one of the most common fears is losing control over health, over circumstances, over time itself. Yet here is a place where control is entirely yours. No one can take it, and no one can give it but you. Choosing to breathe deeply, to sit quietly, to reflect with gratitude is choosing to claim your morning as your own. And by doing so, you plant seeds of peace that grow into the rest of the day. Think of it as tending to an inner garden. If you water it daily with calm and gratitude, it flourishes. If you neglect it, weeds of stress and anxiety creep in. The choice is subtle, but the consequences stretch far beyond the few minutes you invest. By honoring this part of your morning, you are not only calming the mind, you are shaping the atmosphere of your entire day, one breath at a time. Breakfast has often been called the most important meal of the day, and for those who have stepped into life beyond 60, that phrase takes on an even deeper meaning. After a night of fasting, your body wakes up waiting for fuel, not just to keep you moving, but to set the tone for your energy, focus, and stability throughout the hours ahead. The mistake many people make is either skipping this meal altogether or filling it with food that satisfies for the moment, but leaves the body heavy, tired, and unprepared for the day. At this stage of life, breakfast is not about indulgence. It is about nourishment that works with your body, not against it. Think of breakfast as the foundation of a house. If you build it carelessly, with weak materials, the rest of the structure will always feel unstable. But if you choose wisely, even the simplest foods can form a base that carries you steadily from morning to evening. A bowl of oats or whole grains can provide slow, steady energy. A piece of fruit like a handful of berries or a slice of apple delivers natural sweetness and valuable fiber. A boiled egg or a few spoonfuls of yogurt adds protein that keeps muscles strong and hunger under control. These foods may seem ordinary, but when combined, they form a breakfast that is balanced and supportive, giving your body exactly what it needs. What you avoid is just as important as what you choose. Fried foods, heavy meats, or overly salted dishes may feel satisfying for a moment, but often leave you sluggish, thirsty, or uncomfortable later in the day. Instead, opt for simplicity and lightness. Your digestion will thank you, your energy will be steadier, and your mornings will feel less weighed down. Preparing something small the night before can also make the routine easier. A jar of oats left in the refrigerator, fruit washed and ready, or bread chosen with care. These little acts of preparation make it more likely that you'll follow through in the morning, even on days when you wake up tired. It is not only the physical benefits that matter. The act of eating breakfast itself can be a ritual of presence. Sitting down with your plate, taking a few mindful bites, allowing yourself to taste, chew, and breathe. It creates a rhythm that slows the rush of the day. Instead of leaping into chaos, you begin with intention, reminding yourself that your health and well-being are priorities worth honoring. This is especially true when you share the table with someone else. A brief conversation, a moment of laughter, or even quiet companionship over tea can transform a simple meal into a source of connection and joy. Too often, older adults dismiss breakfast as unnecessary, assuming coffee alone is enough to carry them through. But the truth is that the body beyond 60 thrives not on caffeine and empty stomachs, but on gentle, steady nourishment. When you give your body the right start, you protect your strength, sharpen your clarity, and invite more calm into your day. It is not about perfection or elaborate recipes. It is about small, consistent choices that add up over time, choices that remind your body and your spirit that they are both worth caring for. So when the morning comes, do not overlook this moment. Feed yourself in a way that respects the years you have lived and the energy you still want to carry. Let breakfast be more than a meal. Let it be a quiet declaration that you are choosing to honor your health, your energy, and your presence in this world. Each bite is a way of saying, I am still here, and I will care for myself today. After you have cared for your body with water, movement, calm, and nourishment, there remains one more act that often carries even greater weight than all the rest. It is the simple, intentional act of connection. In the rush of life, many people underestimate how vital it is to reach out. Yet loneliness has been called one of the quietest burdens of growing older. It does not announce itself loudly. It shows up slowly in silence, in the absence of voices that once filled the home, in mornings where the phone does not ring. And while no meal or exercise can entirely replace the warmth of human closeness, you have the power to bring it back into your life, one small step at a time. Each morning, after tending to your own health, take a moment to send a message, make a call, or even step outside to greet a neighbor. These gestures may seem ordinary, almost trivial, but to the heart, they are fuel just as important as breakfast is to the body. A kind word exchanged, a familiar laugh shared, or even a simple good morning can shift your entire mood, reminding you that you are not walking this road alone. For someone else too, your words may be the light that eases their own loneliness. In giving connection, you receive it in return. At this stage of life, relationships change. Friends may have moved, family may be busy, and it can feel easier to withdraw than to reach out. But here is the truth. Isolation quietly weakens the spirit, while connection strengthens it. The act of calling a son or daughter, of writing a note to a grandchild, of checking in on a friend, these are not small things. They are lifelines, weaving together the fabric of belonging that holds us steady when the world feels uncertain. Even if the conversation lasts only a minute, the effect often lingers for hours, softening stress, lifting energy, and restoring a sense of purpose. Connection also carries a hidden gift. It reminds you of who you are. When you tell a story, share advice, or simply listen to someone else's day, you are reminded that your voice still matters, your presence still matters. That sense of being valued and needed is one of the strongest protectors of well-being in later life. It guards against the heaviness of solitude and keeps the mind engaged, the heart alive. Some mornings, the effort may feel unnecessary. You may think, they don't need to hear from me today, or I'll do it tomorrow. But the truth is, tomorrow is never guaranteed. Each day offers a choice: remain in silence or reach out with intention. And when you choose connection, you not only nourish yourself, you strengthen the bonds that will carry you in the days ahead. So let this be your final morning habit, as essential as stretching, as vital as eating well. Once you have filled your cup with care for body and mind, pour some of that care outward. Call someone, write to someone, meet someone. These small acts transform mornings into something more than routine. They transform them into moments of meaning. And in that meaning lies the strength to face whatever comes. Every sunrise gives you another chance to remind yourself and others, we are still here and we are still connected. That truth, spoken or unspoken, may be the most powerful gift you can give to yourself and to those you love. As we come to the end of this reflection, it's important to remember that the mornings of our later years are not simply about filling time, but about shaping life. Each of the 5 simple practices we have talked about, drinking warm water, moving your body gently, calming the mind with breath and stillness, nourishing yourself with a balanced breakfast, and reaching out to others, are not grand or difficult tasks. They are small, ordinary actions, yet they hold extraordinary meaning because of the consistency and care behind them. They are reminders that no matter your age, you still have choices every single day that determine how you feel, how you think, and how connected you remain to the world around you. The deeper truth is that age does not diminish our ability to live with intention. Instead, it magnifies the importance of those intentions. A young body can sometimes overlook the consequences of skipping care, but after 60, your body and mind respond clearly and quickly to the choices you make. A few minutes of movement eases stiffness. A mindful breath lowers the day's pressure. A call to a loved one lightens loneliness. When combined, these moments become more than habits. They become a philosophy of living, one where you honor yourself and those around you with presence and love. The lesson here is not about chasing years on a calendar, but about creating quality within the years you have. Every sunrise is an invitation to participate fully in your own life, to remind yourself that you are not passive in the journey of aging, but an active author of how you experience it. By practicing these morning steps, you are telling your body, your mind, and your spirit that they are worthy of care. And when you treat yourself with that kind of respect, you naturally carry more peace, patience, and energy into everything else you do. So how can you apply this right now? Begin tomorrow with one change, not all 5 at once. Maybe it's the glass of warm water, maybe it's 3 minutes of steady breathing, or maybe it's dialing a number and hearing the voice of someone you miss. Build slowly. Allow these actions to become natural and notice how they ripple through the rest of your day. With time, these little steps weave into a pattern of strength, clarity, and joy. They will not erase every challenge, but they will give you a stronger foundation to stand on, no matter what comes your way. Now I'd like to hear from you. If you had to choose just one of these habits to begin with tomorrow morning, which would it be? Drinking warm water to awaken your body, or reaching out to a loved one to awaken your heart? Please share your answer in the comments below so that others in our community can learn from your perspective too. And before we close, let me ask for your support. If you found this video meaningful, if it gave you comfort, inspiration, or even one simple idea you can carry into your mornings, please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom. Leave a comment with your thoughts, share this video with your friends so they too can benefit, and know that we read every response with gratitude. Your encouragement is what gives us the strength to keep creating heartfelt content for you. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with us. We are honored to walk alongside you in this season of life, and we look forward to bringing you many more conversations that matter. What if the very pills you take every single day, those you trust to keep your body functioning, are quietly interfering with your mind? Imagine this. One morning you wake up and realize you can't remember a conversation from last night or the directions to a place you've driven to for years. Most people would shrug and blame getting older, but the truth is far more unsettling. Many memory lapses blamed on age may actually be linked to everyday medications sitting in your bathroom cabinet. Research shows that certain common prescriptions taken daily by millions of people over 60 could increase the likelihood of memory decline by as much as half. And here's the chilling part. It can creep up slowly, almost invisibly, until one day you find yourself wondering if your independence is slipping away. Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone. I want you to think carefully about this. The risk doesn't come from rare experimental treatments. It comes from pills so ordinary that you might not even question them. Blood pressure tablets, sleep aids, allergy remedies, and even some mood stabilizers. These are the quiet companions in many households. But behind the promise of relief, some of them can silently affect the way your brain processes information, stores memories, and maintains mental sharpness. This isn't about fear-mongering. It's about awareness. It's about knowing what questions to ask your doctor, what patterns to notice in your own mind, and what choices might give you the chance to hold on to your clarity for years to come. Because what if it isn't just aging? What if the fogginess, the forgetfulness, the sluggish thinking have been fueled by something you were never warned about? Think about the shock of realizing that your brain has been carrying a hidden burden for years, and all along you thought it was just time catching up with you. That's why today's video is so important. I'm going to uncover 4 categories of everyday pills that researchers have connected with higher risk of memory loss. More importantly, I'll show you the warning signs to look out for and how simple conversations with your healthcare provider can make all the difference. You may discover that small adjustments, guided by professional advice, could restore a sense of clarity you thought was gone forever. And as we explore these stories, you'll see real examples of people just like you, grandparents, retirees, caregivers who found themselves slipping into confusion, only to learn that the culprit was hiding in plain sight. If this opening has sparked your curiosity, if you've ever worried about those moments of forgetfulness and wondered if there might be another explanation, stay with me until the end. What you'll hear today could be the turning point in how you approach your health and your future. Before we dive into the details, I have a small request. Please take a moment to subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom and hit the notification bell. By supporting the channel, you not only encourage me to keep creating videos like this, but you also join a growing community of people committed to aging with strength, clarity, and dignity. Your support helps spread knowledge that could save someone else's memory. Now, let me leave you with a question to reflect on, and I'd love to see your answer in the comments below. Think honestly about your own experience. Question: when you notice forgetfulness after 60, do you usually believe it's just A, normal aging that can't be changed, B, something that might have a hidden cause worth exploring? Comment your answer, A or B, and share your thoughts. Your perspective could help someone else who's searching for clarity right now. High blood pressure is something countless older adults manage every single day. Doctors emphasize its importance because keeping it under control can prevent devastating health events. What is less commonly discussed, however, is that not every type of blood pressure medication has the same effect on the brain. Some medicines, while effective for the heart, may also pass into the brain and interact with the systems responsible for learning and memory. This is not an immediate, dramatic change. It is gradual, subtle, and can be easily mistaken for normal aging. But in truth, the difference lies not in age alone, but in how these drugs interact with the body's delicate balance. The brain relies on steady blood flow, much like a river feeding a city. When the flow is strong and even, every part of the city thrives. But when the current is restricted, even slightly, certain neighborhoods begin to suffer first. That is what can happen in the regions of the brain that handle new memories. They may receive less oxygen and fewer nutrients than they need, which makes it harder to store and recall information. Over time, this can show up as difficulty finding words, forgetting recent events while still remembering older ones clearly, or waking up feeling mentally heavy and slow. These signs don't necessarily mean permanent decline, but they are important signals worth noticing. I remember a story shared by a family about their father, a retired worker in his late 60s. He had always been sharp and independent, but after a change in his medication, he began forgetting familiar directions and repeating the same questions. His children feared that he was facing something irreversible. Yet, when his cardiologist reviewed his prescriptions and recommended a different class of blood pressure medicine, his clarity began to return. Within weeks, he described the sensation as if a curtain had lifted. His experience highlights a truth that is both sobering and hopeful. Sometimes what feels like an inevitable slide is actually a side effect that can be adjusted with the right professional guidance. The point here is not to spread fear or to encourage anyone to stop a life-preserving treatment. These medications are vital, and stopping them without medical supervision can be dangerous. The point is to encourage thoughtful conversations. Ask your doctor, are there alternatives that protect the heart without affecting the mind as strongly? Are there options such as ARBs or calcium channel blockers that might provide the same cardiovascular benefits with less impact on cognition? These are not questions of rejection, but of refinement, ensuring the treatment supports the whole person, body, and mind together. It is also worth considering the timeline. If you have been on the same medication for years and have felt stable, new memory challenges may be caused by something else. But if symptoms appear soon after a new prescription, that connection should be taken seriously. Often, families dismiss changes as just aging, when in reality the timing points to a different explanation. Recognizing that pattern could mean the difference between years of unnecessary frustration and the possibility of renewed clarity. Advocating for yourself can feel intimidating, but it is one of the most powerful tools you have. Bring printed information to your appointments. Write down the changes you notice in your thinking. Encourage open dialogue with your healthcare provider. Remember, your quality of life is not only measured in blood pressure numbers, but also in your ability to remember conversations, follow a favorite book, or keep up with daily routines without confusion. Those moments of mental sharpness are part of what make life rich, and they deserve protection just as much as your heart does. What emerges from this is a lesson in awareness. Modern medicine offers many choices, and the right fit often depends on the details of each person's body and history. By noticing early signs, speaking up, and being open to adjustments, you give yourself the best chance to remain not only physically safe, but mentally clear. The message here is one of empowerment. Aging does not have to mean surrendering to confusion if we pay attention to how treatments affect us. With knowledge, with questions, and with the right guidance, it is possible to protect both your heart and your memory. Sleep is one of the most powerful allies we have for protecting memory. Yet many older adults struggle to get the rest they need. The natural rhythm of sleep often changes with age, and instead of seeking to understand the root causes, it is common to turn to pills that promise quick relief. What is rarely explained is that some of these sleep medications may quietly interfere with the very brain processes that make rest restorative. On the surface, they help you drift off. But beneath that calm exterior, they can disrupt the brain's filing system, the delicate mechanism that takes the events of the day and secures them into lasting memory. One of the main culprits is a group of drugs known as anticholinergics. These are found in certain over-the-counter sleep aids, as well as in prescription options. They block a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which plays a crucial role in learning and memory. Think of acetylcholine as the librarian of your brain. Each night, while you sleep, it carefully sorts and stores the information you encountered during the day. But when this system is blocked, the librarian cannot do its job. The result is that the memories you intended to keep may be scattered, lost, or never properly stored at all. Over time, this can add up, leaving you feeling as though your mind is wrapped in fog. There was a woman named Ruby, a grandmother in her 70s, who depended on a common nighttime pill to sleep. For years, she believed it was harmless. But gradually, her family noticed that she struggled to remember simple details, sometimes even the names of her grandchildren. They feared her mind was slipping away permanently. Yet when her doctor helped her taper off the medication and guided her towards safer alternatives, something remarkable happened. Within a matter of weeks, Ruby felt sharper. Her memory returned in ways that surprised even her children. What they thought was irreversible decline turned out to be a reversible effect of a drug she trusted for rest. The signs can be subtle at first. You may wake feeling groggy instead of refreshed, or you may find it harder to concentrate the following day. You may notice that forgetfulness worsens over time, and the clarity you once had seems harder to grasp. Some describe it as thinking through molasses, or as if their mind is covered in a heavy blanket. These changes can be dismissed as the price of getting older. But in truth, they may be linked to the medications used night after night. What makes the situation more concerning is that the effect can be cumulative. The longer the use, the heavier the burden on the brain. There are alternatives. Instead of relying on sedatives that mask the problem, many people benefit from addressing the deeper causes of poor sleep. Sometimes another medication taken during the day is disrupting rest. In other cases, conditions such as sleep apnea or restless legs are involved. Gentle approaches like melatonin, magnesium, or lifestyle changes, keeping a regular bedtime, avoiding screens before sleep, creating a cool and dark room, can work with the body rather than against it. And if medication is still necessary, there are newer options designed to minimize the impact on memory and thinking. It is important to understand that stopping sleep aids suddenly is not the answer. That can be unsettling and even unsafe. The real solution is a gradual, guided approach with a healthcare professional who knows your history. The goal is not simply to close your eyes at night, but to give your brain the deep, restorative sleep it needs to remain sharp. Because sleep is not just rest, it is the nightly repair process that preserves independence, clarity, and vitality. The lesson here is to pay attention. If the pills that help you sleep are leaving you more confused, less alert, or increasingly forgetful, it may be time to question whether they are truly serving you. Sleep should renew the mind, not rob it of its strength. By seeking out safer choices, by listening to the signals your body gives, you open the possibility of mornings that feel brighter, clearer, and more alive. And that, more than anything, is what healthy aging is about. Protecting both the nights that restore you and the days that follow. Allergy season may seem harmless enough, but for many older adults it comes with an unexpected cost. The medications taken to ease sneezing, watery eyes, or congestion may quietly weigh down the mind. The older generation of antihistamines, which are still sold in pharmacies everywhere, are especially concerning. These drugs do not only block histamine, the chemical behind allergic reactions, they also affect acetylcholine, a key neurotransmitter involved in memory. When both histamine and acetylcholine pathways are suppressed, the brain's alertness drops and memory formation is disrupted. It can feel like a double blow. Less clarity, less sharpness, and more fog settling in over time. I think of Vernon, a man in his 60s who loved spending hours in his garden. Every spring, when pollen filled the air, he relied on an older allergy pill twice a day just to get through the season. At first, it seemed harmless, but gradually his wife noticed he was losing track of conversations, forgetting important appointments, and seeming slower mentally during those months. They assumed it was fatigue or simply age creeping up. But when his doctor suggested switching to a newer generation antihistamine, one that controls allergies without crossing deeply into the brain, his alertness and memory returned. What looked like seasonal depression or cognitive decline was in truth a side effect of the very pills meant to bring him relief. This story isn't unique. Many people notice that they feel mentally dull during allergy season and chalk it up to being under the weather. Yet often, it is not the allergies themselves, but the medicine chosen to fight them that creates this mental haze. The good news is that alternatives exist. Newer antihistamines, such as loratadine, cetirizine, and fexofenadine, are designed to relieve symptoms without significantly affecting brain function. They cost little more than the older drugs and, in many cases, are available in affordable generic forms. Choosing them can mean the difference between enduring months of clouded thinking or enjoying the clarity you deserve year-round. The same principle of awareness applies to certain antidepressants. Depression itself can impair memory, concentration, and motivation, making it difficult to separate illness from side effects. Some older antidepressants, particularly tricyclics, have strong anticholinergic properties that interfere with the brain's ability to stay sharp. Even certain SSRIs, which are more modern, may cause what patients describe as cognitive blunting. People report that while their moods stabilize, their creativity fades, their thoughts slow, and their ability to recall details weakens. Consider Maxine, a retired teacher who had taken an older antidepressant for nearly a decade. While her sadness had lifted, she began to struggle with word finding, and her family feared it was the onset of something irreversible. With her psychiatrist's guidance, she transitioned to a newer medication that maintained her emotional balance but carried fewer cognitive effects. Within months, she felt clearer, more engaged, and more like herself again. Her story demonstrates that mental health treatment and mental sharpness do not have to be at odds. With the right guidance, both can be protected. The difficulty is that depression and medication side effects can look alike: low energy, difficulty concentrating, forgetfulness. One clue lies in timing. If cognitive struggles appear or intensify after beginning a new prescription, the drug itself may be contributing. This does not mean giving up treatment. It means having a conversation about alternatives, combining medication with therapy, or exploring lifestyle practices such as regular exercise, which is known to improve both mood and cognition. The thread that ties these examples together is choice. Whether it is an antihistamine for allergies or an antidepressant for mood, not all medications have the same impact on the brain. Options exist, and recognizing the signs gives you power. Feeling mentally sluggish does not have to be accepted as the inevitable march of age. It may be a side effect worth questioning. Protecting memory is not about rejecting medicine, but about selecting the right kind, guided by professional advice, so that both body and mind are cared for. In the end, clarity of thought is one of the most precious assets we have as we grow older. By paying attention to how medications affect us, by asking questions, and by being open to adjustments, we safeguard more than our health. We protect the experiences, the stories, and the independence that make life meaningful. When we look at all of these stories together, one message becomes clear. Memory loss is not always an unavoidable part of aging. Sometimes the fog that clouds the mind is not the result of years passing, but of everyday medications quietly working against the brain. That truth is both sobering and empowering. Sobering because it reminds us how vulnerable our mental clarity can be, and empowering because it shows that with awareness and the right guidance, there is room for change. Think about Walter, a 74-year-old grandfather who seemed to be slipping away from his family. He struggled to recall the names of his grandchildren, got lost on routes he had driven for decades, and could no longer follow the plot of his favorite books. His daughter began researching memory care, fearing the worst. But instead of accepting decline as inevitable, his doctor reviewed his medications one by one. Over several months, they replaced his blood pressure drug with a different class, discontinued the nightly sleep aid, shifted his allergy treatment to a safer option, and adjusted his antidepressant. Slowly, Walter returned. His memory improved, his mind grew sharper, and his family described it as having him back again. At 76, he now volunteers at the library, reads complex novels, and travels with his wife. His journey is a living example that the mind can sometimes recover once hidden burdens are lifted. These stories remind us of something profound. The brain is resilient. Even in later years, it has the capacity to adapt and regain strength when given the right conditions. Too often, we accept mental decline as fate, when in reality, it may be influenced by factors we can address. That does not mean every problem disappears with a change in medication. But it does mean that paying attention, asking questions, and seeking alternatives can make a life-changing difference. This is why awareness matters. When you notice unusual forgetfulness, sluggish thinking, or confusion, it is easy to label it as aging. But if you or a loved one recently began a new prescription, it may be worth a closer look. The key is not to act alone, but to open a conversation with a healthcare professional who understands both the physical and cognitive side of treatment. Advocating for yourself is not about rejecting medicine. It is about finding the version that supports your health in the fullest sense. What we often overlook is that independence is built on clarity. Remembering conversations, following routines, staying connected to loved ones, these are the threads of daily life. Protecting them is just as important as protecting the heart, the lungs, or the bones. And sometimes the first step in protecting them is simply knowing that side effects exist and that alternatives may be available. This journey we are on together is not about fear. It is about hope and empowerment. It is about reminding ourselves that aging does not mean surrendering to confusion without a fight. By paying attention to the signs, by speaking up, by refusing to dismiss changes as just old age, you give yourself or your loved ones the chance to experience more years with clarity and dignity. In the next part of our discussion, we will move beyond medications and look at the everyday choices, lifestyle habits, natural supports, and mindful practices that can help preserve memory even further. Because the goal is not only to avoid the hidden risks, but to build a foundation of strength that supports the mind as well as the body. The future of your memory is not written in stone, and with knowledge, you can take steps today that keep tomorrow brighter. As we come to the close of this journey together, I want you to pause and reflect on what we have uncovered. So much of what we tend to accept as the normal process of aging may not be inevitable at all. The stories of Clarence, Ruby, Vernon, Maxine, and Walter remind us that memory loss, foggy thinking, or confusion do not always come from time alone. Sometimes they are the hidden weight of medications that, while helping one part of the body, quietly strain another. The powerful lesson here is that the mind can often regain clarity when we pay attention, ask questions, and work with doctors to find better options. That awareness is not only knowledge, it is freedom. The truth is, your brain has an extraordinary resilience. Even later in life, it has the ability to adapt, to heal, and to restore sharper thinking when given the chance. This is not about rejecting medicine. It is about balance. It is about remembering that your health is not only measured in numbers or test results, but also in the quality of your days. The ability to remember your granddaughter's voice, to keep track of your garden, to follow a good story, to sit with a friend and share memories without the haze of confusion. Those moments are the fabric of life, and they deserve protection just as much as your heart or your lungs. So what is the lesson for us today? It is to never settle for less clarity than you deserve. If you notice changes in your memory, do not shrug them off as just age. Look carefully at the timing. Did they begin after a new prescription? Did they worsen gradually with certain pills? If so, let that be the signal to start a conversation with your doctor. Ask if there are alternatives. Bring notes to your appointments. Share your story openly. You are not powerless in this process. You are a partner in your own health. For older adults, this lesson carries even more weight because independence and dignity are tied so closely to memory. Protecting your mind means protecting your freedom to live the way you want. The positive takeaway here is simple. By staying alert, by being proactive, and by working with your healthcare team, you give yourself the best chance to enjoy your golden years with strength, presence, and confidence. This is not just about living longer. It is about living fully, with both your heart and your mind intact. Now I want to leave you with a gentle question. When you think about your own health, do you believe memory loss is always just part of getting older? Or do you believe there may be hidden causes worth exploring? Please comment below with your answer and let us all learn from one another's perspectives. And finally, if you found this video meaningful, I ask from the heart, please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Share this video with your friends and family so they too can be informed. And let us continue this conversation together. Your voices, your experiences, and your encouragement give us the strength to keep creating content that matters. From all of us here, thank you deeply for spending your time with us. May we walk this path of wisdom side by side, each day clearer and stronger than the last. Have you ever walked into a doctor's office hoping to be heard, but left feeling invisible? Many people over 60 experience the same thing. And here's the shocking part. It's often not because the doctor doesn't care. It's because of the very words we use in those first moments. Words that seem harmless, polite, or even self-deprecating can quietly sabotage the care we receive. Imagine this. In less than 30 seconds, a simple phrase can decide whether your appointment is rushed through or taken seriously. It's unsettling, but it's the reality most seniors never realize until it's too late. Wisdom Beyond 60, dear everyone. Today I want to uncover something that may feel uncomfortable, even a little unsettling, but it's necessary. For decades, studies have shown that the way older adults describe their symptoms can trigger hidden assumptions in healthcare providers. Not intentional, not malicious, but automatic. And once that mental switch is flipped, you can be categorized, dismissed, and walked out with nothing more than a quick prescription. Think about that. A single casual phrase can be the difference between early detection of a serious issue and months of unnecessary suffering. The truth is, many of us have unknowingly trained our doctors to see us through the wrong lens. We chuckle, we apologize, we brush things off as just aging. But every time we do, we hand them an excuse not to dig deeper. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. It's about breaking free from the silent habits that strip away the respect and attention we deserve. What makes this even more powerful, and perhaps even heartbreaking, is knowing that these small choices in language can ripple into massive consequences. It's not exaggeration, it's reality. I've met people who carried symptoms for years, dismissed over and over, until one day a second opinion revealed something that should have been addressed long before. And the heartbreaking part? It wasn't that their bodies failed them. It was that their words betrayed them. They didn't know the hidden weight behind a single sentence. When you realize how fragile this communication balance is, it changes everything about how you approach your next appointment. This video will reveal the 5 most damaging phrases many seniors use without realizing the cost. Phrases that sound polite but quietly undermine your voice. Phrases that make a doctor assume your pain is simply part of life. Phrases that leave you unseen. But here's the good news, you can change it. And once you do, the difference in how you are treated can be staggering. Doctors who once brushed past your concerns suddenly pause, listen, and investigate, all because of how you choose to frame your story. If this opening has already made you stop and think, then stay with me until the end, because the strategies I'm about to share may very well change the way you are cared for from this moment forward. And before we dive deeper, let me ask you to support this channel. Please hit the subscribe button and help Beyond 60 Wisdom grow so I can continue creating videos that give you the tools and confidence to speak up, be heard, and get the respect you deserve in every healthcare setting. Now I want to leave you with a question to reflect on before we go further. Which do you think has the bigger impact on how doctors treat seniors? A, the symptoms themselves. B, the way we describe those symptoms. Drop your answer, A or B, in the comments below. Your response might surprise you, and it may inspire someone else to see their next doctor's visit in a brand new light. The second phrase that quietly undermines the health of so many older adults is one that comes from a place of politeness, even humility. It is the habit of walking into the exam room, sitting down, and starting with, "I'm sorry to bother you." On the surface, it sounds respectful. It sounds like you are acknowledging how busy your doctor must be. But underneath, what you are actually doing is sending a message that your concerns are not important enough to take up time. And whether you realize it or not, that single apology can cut your appointment short, shift the tone of the conversation, and make your symptoms seem less urgent than they truly are. Studies have shown that when patients begin their appointments with an apologetic tone, consultations often become noticeably shorter. Doctors, already pressed for time, unconsciously mirror the message you've given them, that your issue isn't serious, that you are asking for just a quick glance, that they can move on without much investigation. You might think you are being considerate, but what you are actually doing is lowering the value of your own health in the eyes of the professional sitting across from you. And this can have life-changing consequences. Take the story of a woman in her late 60s who had been experiencing recurring discomfort in her chest. For months, each time she saw her cardiologist, she would begin her visit with an apology. "I know you're busy," she'd say, "and this is probably nothing, but I just wanted to mention these little pains." Each time, the doctor would listen briefly, offer reassurance, and move on. It wasn't until her daughter accompanied her and noticed this pattern that things began to change. With encouragement, she tried a different approach. Instead of apologizing, she started with, "Doctor, I've been experiencing chest pain 3 times a week for the last 2 months. Usually when I climb stairs. It lasts about 5 minutes each time." That shift in tone changed everything. The doctor immediately ordered further tests, which revealed a serious condition that needed prompt attention. What had been brushed aside for months was finally taken seriously, all because she stopped apologizing and started presenting her symptoms as important medical information. This is the deeper truth. Your doctor became a doctor to hear about problems like yours. You are not a burden. You are not an inconvenience. You are the very reason their profession exists. When you say, "I'm sorry to bother you," you create distance. You make it easier for them to minimize your concerns. But when you speak with clarity and without apology, you step into your rightful role as a partner in your own care. The shift is not about arrogance. It is not about being demanding. It is about owning the value of your health and understanding that time spent on your well-being is never wasted. Instead of apologizing, try a different opening. "Doctor, I have important health information to share with you." Or, "I've been tracking these symptoms and I'd like your expertise." Those words immediately frame you as prepared, thoughtful, and engaged. They tell the doctor that you are serious and that what you are about to share matters. When you stop apologizing for being in that room, you begin to command the attention you deserve. You stop being a passive figure, hoping for scraps of time, and instead become a voice that cannot be ignored. Your presence there is not a favor granted by your doctor. It is a service you are entitled to, one you have earned by choosing to seek care. So the next time you catch yourself about to say, "I'm sorry to bother you," pause, replace it with confidence. Remember that the language you choose sets the stage for everything that follows. Your health deserves more than an apology. It deserves your full voice, spoken clearly, without hesitation. And when you claim that space, you may find that your doctor begins to see you differently. Not as a burden to be hurried through, but as a partner worth listening to, worth respecting, and worth serving with the full measure of their expertise. The third phrase that quietly undermines the credibility of many older adults is one you may have used without even thinking about it. "Well, the internet says." At first glance, it seems harmless. After all, staying informed about your health is a sign of responsibility. You read, you research, you try to understand what your body is telling you. But when those words come out of your mouth in the exam room, they can trigger an immediate shift in how your doctor sees you. Instead of being viewed as a thoughtful patient, you risk being perceived as someone playing amateur physician, someone who comes in with a ready-made diagnosis and expects confirmation. And in that moment, the dynamic of trust begins to erode. Doctors are human beings with years of training and experience, but they have also seen countless patients walk through their doors convinced by online symptom checkers that they have rare or catastrophic conditions. When you begin with, "I read online that I might have," many doctors unconsciously brace themselves for a debate rather than a collaboration. This defensive reaction often results in shorter appointments, less willingness to engage, and in some cases, dismissal of your concerns. What was meant to show initiative can instead backfire, leaving you frustrated and unheard. Take the story of a 74-year-old man who had been dealing with a persistent cough. Concerned, he searched online and read about lung cancer. Panicked, he rushed to his doctor and blurted out, "The internet says I might have cancer." His doctor, hearing yet another alarming self-diagnosis, brushed him off quickly and sent him home with little more than a basic remedy. But when he approached his next appointment differently, describing his symptoms clearly, and only then mentioning that he had done some reading, the result was entirely different. He said, "Doctor, I've had a cough for 3 weeks that feels different from any cough I've had before. I read that changes in cough patterns can sometimes point to serious conditions. Could you help me understand what might be happening here?" That framing shifted the doctor's attention. Tests were ordered, and this time his concern was treated with the seriousness it deserved. The difference was not in the symptoms themselves, it was in how the information was presented. This illustrates a powerful truth. Research on your health is valuable, but how you share it matters. Doctors respond positively when you show that you are informed yet respectful of their expertise. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who already knows the answer, position yourself as a partner seeking professional interpretation. For example, you might say, "I've noticed this new symptom, and I've read that it could have several possible explanations. Could you help me understand what might apply in my case?" These words keep the door open for collaboration. They signal that you respect the doctor's knowledge while also demonstrating that you are engaged in your own care. Even physicians admit that they appreciate curious and proactive patients, but only when the information is presented constructively. A doctor once explained that when a patient says, "I've done some reading and have questions," it shows genuine interest and invites a meaningful conversation. But when a patient insists, "I have this condition because the internet told me so," the appointment shifts into a battle against misinformation. And in that battle, the patient often loses the chance for thoughtful attention. The lesson here is not to stop researching. Information is power, and taking the time to understand your health is an act of responsibility. The lesson is to frame your research as an invitation rather than a declaration. When you position your doctor as a partner in interpreting what you've learned, you gain their trust and cooperation. When you position yourself as someone who already knows, you risk shutting down the very dialogue that could help you most. So remember this, your words are not just a reflection of what you know, they are the key to how your doctor responds. Use them wisely. Share your curiosity with humility. Invite guidance rather than demand validation. Because in the delicate space of a medical appointment, the difference between being heard and being dismissed often begins with how you choose to open the conversation. Another phrase that quietly damages the quality of care seniors receive sounds simple, but it carries hidden consequences. It is when someone says, "I can't remember exactly when this started," or "It's been going on for a while, but I'm not sure how long." These vague timelines may feel harmless, but in the eyes of a doctor, they can immediately raise questions about memory, focus, and reliability. Instead of guiding the physician toward an accurate diagnosis, they create uncertainty. And when uncertainty enters the room, doctors often turn toward cognitive testing or assumptions about decline rather than addressing the actual symptom you came in to discuss. Consider the case of a woman in her early 70s who went to her doctor because of overwhelming fatigue. When asked when it began, she replied, "I don't really know. It's just been happening for a while now." The doctor noted possible memory impairment in her chart and ordered expensive cognitive tests. But the root cause of her fatigue wasn't memory-related at all. Later, with the help of her son, she reviewed her calendar and realized that her symptoms had begun about 12 weeks earlier, shortly after starting a new prescription. Armed with this clear timeline at her next appointment, the doctor immediately recognized the likely connection between the medication and her fatigue. Once her treatment was adjusted, her energy returned within weeks. The difference was not the condition itself, it was the precision of her words. Doctors rely on timelines the way detectives rely on clues. When you can say, "My back pain started 3 months ago, right after I lifted heavy boxes," or "The headaches began 2 weeks after I switched to new glasses," you give them a starting point. But when you say, "It's been going on for a while," you leave them searching in the dark. And in that darkness, assumptions creep in. Too often, those assumptions lead to misdiagnosis, unnecessary testing, or overlooked conditions that could have been addressed sooner. The good news is that preparing a clear timeline is simpler than it seems. You don't need perfect memory. A pocket notebook, a calendar on your phone, or even small notes on your fridge can become invaluable tools. Write down when a symptom first appeared, how often it shows up, and what seems to trigger or ease it. Even basic details, "Started after my granddaughter's wedding in early October," or "Became worse right after my last doctor visit in January," are powerful. They demonstrate sharpness, responsibility, and engagement. They remind your doctor that you are paying close attention to your body and that you are a reliable source of your own history. Healthcare professionals often say that a clear, specific history is half the diagnosis. Yet too many seniors walk into appointments without preparation, relying on vague recollections. That single habit can make the difference between a quick dismissal and a meaningful plan of action. By showing up with specifics, you change the way your doctor sees you. Instead of questioning your memory, they can focus on the real problem at hand. Instead of wasting time chasing possibilities, they can target the most likely cause. This shift is about more than efficiency. It is about dignity. When you provide a clear and organized account of your health, you show that your mind is engaged, your perspective is valuable, and your concerns matter. You move from being a passive patient to being an active historian of your own body. And in doing so, you help ensure that your doctor's expertise is used where it counts most, on solving the problem you came to address. So before your next appointment, take a few moments to prepare. Ask yourself, when did this begin? What changed in my life at that time? How has it evolved since then? Walk in with even a handful of specific notes, and you may find that the entire conversation shifts. Precision doesn't just help your doctor diagnose you, it helps you reclaim control of your story. And in healthcare, that story is the foundation of everything that follows. The final phrase that quietly takes away your power in the exam room often comes from a place of respect, but it ends up doing harm. It is when you look at your doctor and say, often comes whatever you think is best, but it ends up on the surface. It sounds like power. Look at your doctor. It sounds like you are honoring their expertise, but it ends up on the surface. It sounds like power. Look at your doctor. It sounds like you are honoring their expertise, but it ends up on the surface. It sounds like power. Look at your doctor. It sounds like you are honoring their expertise, but it ends up on the surface. It sounds like power. Look at your doctor. It sounds like you are honoring their expertise, but it ends up on the surface. It sounds like power. Look at your doctor. It sounds like you are honoring their expertise, don't share. But it ends up on the surface. It sounds like you say, whatever you think is best, you take away vital context. They don't know that you still climb ladders in your garden, that you babysit your grandchildren 3 days a week, that dizziness or fatigue would make your life far more difficult than it might for someone else. Without your input, they often choose the most common option, the one that works for most people. And while it may work for some, it may not work for you. Think of the story of a man in his late 60s who was diagnosed with high blood pressure. His doctor laid out several treatment paths, and his response was, "You're the expert. I'll go with whatever you decide." The doctor prescribed a standard medication, but what the man didn't say was that he spent hours each week on ladders tending to his fruit trees. The medication left him dizzy and weak, making his daily activities unsafe. Months passed before his doctor realized the mismatch. If the patient had voiced his lifestyle and concerns from the beginning, the outcome would have been very different. This doesn't mean you should doubt your doctor's knowledge. It means you should step into your rightful role as a partner. The best medicine is not just about science, it is about fit. It is about how the treatment interacts with your life, your goals, and your priorities. A collaborative approach leads to care that is truly personalized. When you ask questions like, how will this affect my daily activities? Or what side effects should I watch for? You open the door to a deeper, more thoughtful conversation. You give your doctor the information they need to match their expertise with your reality. Doctors who work with older adults often say that their best outcomes come from patients who are engaged. They want to know your fears, your hopes, and your limitations. When you defer completely, you rob them of that insight. But when you speak up, when you say, "I'd like to understand my options," or "I want to stay as active as possible," which choice supports that best? You set the stage for care that respects both your body and your life. This shift in mindset transforms the dynamic. You are no longer a passive recipient of care. You become an active participant, a voice that helps shape the plan. That doesn't mean arguing or challenging every decision. It means stepping forward with curiosity, clarity, and courage. It means remembering that your health is not just about test results, it's about the life you want to keep living. So, the next time you are tempted to say, whatever you think is best, stop. Instead, say, I want to be part of this decision. Can you explain how each option might fit with my goals? That one sentence tells your doctor you're engaged, serious, and committed. It changes the way they see you, and it ensures that the care you receive is not just medically sound, but personally meaningful. Your words shape your care. Silence hands over your power. Speaking up reclaims it. And in those moments, you are not only protecting your health, you are honoring your life. When we look back on the 5 phrases that so many older adults use at the doctor's office, a pattern becomes clear. Each one, in its own way, quietly hands over power, weakens the voice of the patient, and limits the care they receive. Saying, "I'm just getting old," dismisses real symptoms as inevitable when they may point to treatable conditions. Beginning with, "I'm sorry to bother you," makes your health sound less important, inviting the doctor to rush. Relying too heavily on "the internet says" turns what should be a collaborative discussion into a defensive battle. Using vague timelines like "it's been going on for a while" creates uncertainty and can lead to misdiagnosis. And finally, saying "whatever you think is best" removes you from the conversation entirely, leaving critical decisions to be made without your values, needs, or daily life in mind. These words may seem small, but their consequences are not. They shape how doctors perceive you, how seriously they take your concerns, and ultimately the quality of care you receive. But here is the deeper truth that matters most. You have the ability to change this. You do not need to be a medical expert to speak with confidence. You do not need perfect memory to provide valuable information. What you need is awareness of how your words matter, preparation to share your experiences clearly, and the courage to step into your rightful role as a partner in your healthcare. Every appointment is an opportunity to advocate for yourself. And when you replace those disempowering phrases with specific, confident, respectful language, you change the dynamic completely. Doctors respond differently because you show them that you are engaged, attentive, and serious about your health. That shift can lead to earlier detection, more personalized treatment, and above all, the respect you deserve. The lesson here is not about being forceful or argumentative. It is about honoring your own life by refusing to minimize it. As we age, it is natural to feel pressure to stay quiet, not to trouble others, or to accept discomfort as just the way things are. But silence and resignation cost too much. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to live with dignity, clarity, and strength. By choosing your words carefully, by preparing notes before each appointment, and by asking thoughtful questions, you create space for doctors to truly do their work, guided by your reality, not their assumptions. This is not just good for your health, it is good for your spirit, because it reminds you that you are not a burden. You are a full human being with wisdom, experiences, and a voice that matters deeply. So here is the positive takeaway for you today. The way you communicate has the power to transform your healthcare. Instead of apologizing, speak with clarity. Instead of vague timelines, bring specific details. Instead of stepping back, step forward as a partner. Small changes in language can protect your health, preserve your independence, and make every doctor's visit a step toward a better quality of life. And the best part is, you can start this change right now. At your very next appointment, you can practice these shifts and immediately feel the difference in how you are treated. Now, let me ask you a simple question to reflect on. When you visit your doctor, do you usually A, try to keep your concerns short so you don't take up much time? Or B, explain your symptoms in detail, even if it takes a little longer? Please share your answer, A or B, in the comments below so others can learn from your perspective. And if you found this video meaningful, if it gave you something to think about, we ask for your support. Please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom so you never miss more helpful conversations like this. Leave a comment with your thoughts and experiences, because your voice may inspire someone else who is watching. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, or family members who could benefit from it. Every comment, every subscription, every share gives us the energy to keep creating content that supports you. From all of us at Beyond 60 Wisdom, Thank you for being here. We are honored to walk this journey with you, and we promise to continue bringing you videos that matter to your life and to your health. Have you ever thought you were making the safest decision of your life, only to realize later it was the very choice that stole away the little freedoms that made life worth living? At 82, I believed moving into a nursing home would give me peace, safety, and the comfort my family promised. They said I would be cared for, that I could finally relax and not worry about the burdens of daily living. But the reality was nothing like what I had imagined. The shock wasn't in the small room or the scheduled meals. It was something far deeper, something that shook me to the core. It was the moment I realized I had quietly signed away my independence. Wisdom beyond 60, dear everyone, let me tell you this. The loss of independence doesn't come crashing down in one dramatic instant. It slips in quietly, piece by piece, until you suddenly see you no longer hold the keys to your own life. Before moving in, I woke when I wanted. If I felt like having coffee at midnight, I did. If I wanted to take a walk in my garden, the choice was mine. These simple decisions, so ordinary at the time, gave me a sense of ownership over my life. But inside the nursing home, even the smallest choice was no longer mine. Breakfast arrived at a set time whether I was hungry or not. Lights went out at the same hour whether I was ready for bed or still wide awake. Even going outside for fresh air required permission and waiting until someone was available to escort me. What struck me hardest was the slow erosion of identity. One morning during my first week there, I sat up in a bed that didn't feel like mine, looked around the sterile walls, and felt a chilling realization. My life no longer belonged to me. At home, my favorite chair, my books, the little treasures collected over the years reminded me who I was. Here, those anchors were gone, replaced by sameness and silence. And that silence screamed louder than any noise I had ever known. I learned quickly that once independence is surrendered, reclaiming it is nearly impossible. At first, I resisted. I asked if I could choose different meals, if I could take a walk when I felt like it, but soon the answers came back the same. Not now, maybe later, that's not how we do it here. Eventually, I stopped asking. I adapted because I had to. But adapting came at a price, the gradual fading of the person I used to be. Many people imagine that moving into a nursing home is simply a change of address, a transition to more care and comfort. The truth is harsher. It is a shift of power. The control over your time, your space, your choices, those vanish into the routine of an institution. And once you hand over those freedoms, you begin to feel less like yourself and more like a name on a chart. That is the part no one warns you about. If you are listening right now, take this as a wake-up call. Ask yourself honestly, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they are gone, you will miss them more deeply than you ever thought possible. Before we continue, I want to pause and ask you to support this channel. Please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom so we can keep sharing stories that matter, stories that might one day change the way you see your own life. Your support is the reason we can keep going. And now, I leave you with a question to reflect on. Imagine this choice in front of you. A, having all your meals, schedules, and routines managed for you with no effort on your part. B, struggling a bit more each day, but keeping the freedom to decide when to eat, when to rest, and how to live. Which would you choose? Comment below with your answer, A or B, and let's see how many of us still believe independence is worth fighting for. When I first arrived at the nursing home, my family surrounded me with words of comfort. They promised that nothing would change between us, that they would be there every week, that I would never feel abandoned. And in those first days, it felt almost true. My daughter would come with her bright smile. My grandchildren would fill the room with their chatter, and for a brief moment, it seemed as if life still carried me in its rhythm. But time has a way of softening intentions. What began with steady visits slowly shifted into hurried phone calls, then messages promising, "We'll come soon." Eventually, the silence grew longer than the visits themselves. That silence has a weight that few understand until they live inside it. At home, I was part of the daily world. I was seen at the market, waved at by neighbors, included in the ordinary flow of life. In the nursing home, the walls stand between you and that current, and you begin to feel yourself drifting farther away. The days pass, but without those visits, without those voices, you begin to wonder if the world has already moved on and left you behind. I remember sitting in the common room one Sunday, watching the door. Every time it opened, I felt a flicker of hope that someone would step in for me. Sometimes our families arrived with flowers and gifts for their loved ones, and the joy on those faces was undeniable. But when the door closed and no one came for me, that flicker of hope burned out and left only the ache of being forgotten. It wasn't just me. I saw it on the faces of others too. People glancing toward the hallway, pretending to read or nap, when really they were waiting for a visit that might never come. The truth is, it's not always because love disappears. My family still cared, but life outside went on without me. My daughter's job demanded more hours. My grandchildren had their studies, their friends, their own growing lives. They didn't mean to forget, but distance makes it easy to believe that a quick phone call is enough. For them, time slipped by in busy schedules. For me, time stretched long and empty, measured in the space between one knock on the door and the next. There were nights when I reached for the phone to call my son, just to hear his voice. But I would hesitate, afraid of sounding needy, afraid of reminding him that I was still here, waiting. I would set the phone down, telling myself he would call soon, even though I knew that soon might not come. That's when I realized the hardest truth of all. When you are out of sight, you are slowly erased from the rhythm of other people's lives. This is the reality so many do not consider. You think you will always be remembered, that the bonds of love will hold strong against the barrier of distance. But in a nursing home, it is easy to become invisible. The world moves on, and unless someone makes the effort to pull you back into it, you watch it from behind glass, a spectator instead of a participant. If you are thinking about this path, you must ask yourself if you are ready to face that loneliness. Because no matter how deeply your family cares, the truth is that absence changes things. And once you are no longer woven into the daily pattern of their lives, you will feel that separation in a way words can barely describe. The regret isn't simply about fewer visits. It's about realizing that you are no longer part of the center of anyone's world, but only a memory they return to when time allows. When I left my home behind, I thought I was just changing where I slept at night, maybe giving up a few routines. I never imagined I was also letting go of the very things that gave my life meaning. At home, even the smallest duties carried weight. Brewing a pot of coffee, tidying up the living room, or stepping into the garden to water the plants gave me a rhythm, a sense of being useful. These were not just tasks to fill the day. They were small affirmations that I still had a role, that I was still needed in this world. Inside the nursing home, that quiet sense of purpose slipped away faster than I could grasp it. Meals appeared without my effort, laundry was taken from my hands, and the plants I once tended were no longer mine to care for. At first, I told myself it was freedom, that finally I could rest, that I no longer had to carry the burden of daily chores. But very soon I realized that rest without responsibility is not freedom at all. It is emptiness. I remember a man named Henry, a retired mechanic who used to fix cars for neighbors long after his retirement. At home, his hands were always busy, tightening bolts, polishing chrome, bringing old engines back to life. In the nursing home, those hands sat idle on his lap. His tools were gone, his projects left unfinished. One afternoon, he said to me, "I don't even recognize myself anymore." That single sentence captured the heart of what happens when purpose is taken away. You stop seeing the person you were, and you begin to feel like just another body filling a chair. The days grew longer, not because of the hours themselves, but because nothing within them carried meaning. I would sit by the window after breakfast, staring out at the trees, wondering how I would fill the endless stretch of time until dinner. Back at home, I never thought about how to fill the hours. They filled themselves with books, conversations, walks, or even small repairs around the house. Here in this place, the hours stretched thin, and waiting became my main occupation. Waiting for meals, waiting for visits, waiting for sleep. And in that waiting, I began to feel smaller, like I was fading. It is not just boredom, though boredom plays its part. It is the loss of having something that is truly yours to tend, to create, to protect. Purpose is not reserved for the young or the ambitious. It is the heartbeat of every life, at every age. Without it, the mind grows restless, then weary, and the body soon follows. I watched it happen to others around me too. People who had once been lively and animated now sat silent, eyes fixed on the floor, their days stripped of anything to look forward to. That perhaps is the cruelest truth about losing purpose. It does not vanish with a loud crash. It leaves quietly, unnoticed at first, until one day you realize you have been living without it for months. And by then, reclaiming it feels almost impossible. If you are thinking about this path for yourself or someone you love, do not underestimate the value of small responsibilities. They are not burdens, they are lifelines. A chore, a hobby, a routine, these are the threads that hold a life together. When they are taken away, what remains may look like care and comfort from the outside, but from the inside, it feels like an unraveling. Looking back, I wish I had fought harder to keep my little rituals, the ones that seemed so ordinary, but gave me a reason to rise in the morning. Because once they are gone, you begin to understand that a life without purpose is not rest, it is surrender. Before I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was doing fairly well for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I could still cook my own meals, take care of errands, and walk around the block without needing help. My little routines, stretching in the morning, sweeping the porch, carrying groceries, kept me moving, and I believed those simple habits were enough to keep me strong. But once I entered this place, everything changed, not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, in ways I didn't see until it was too late. At first, I felt relieved. Meals were delivered right to me, and I no longer had to spend time in the kitchen. If I needed something, a button brought help within minutes. It seemed like I had earned a life of ease after years of working hard. But what I didn't realize was that this ease came at a hidden cost. The less I moved, the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. Muscles that had served me well for decades began to fade in just a matter of months. Stiffness set in, climbing out of a chair became harder, and soon even walking down the hallway felt like a task. I remember a neighbor of mine, Margaret, who was full of life when she first arrived. She told me proudly she wasn't going to slow down just because of a number on her birthday. Every day she walked laps around the courtyard. But I watched as her routine shrank. First, she skipped a day here and there. Then she started leaning on a walker. A few months later, she was using a wheelchair. One afternoon, she looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." Her words struck me because I was feeling the same. That is the cruel truth about life in a place designed for comfort. The very things that make life easier can quietly take away your strength. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. At home, the little tasks that kept me moving also kept me alive in ways I didn't fully appreciate. Carrying laundry, standing at the stove, walking out to the mailbox, those weren't just chores. They were exercise disguised as daily life. In the nursing home, with every effort removed, I discovered how quickly the body forgets what it once knew. And it wasn't just me. All around me, I saw people arrive on their own 2 feet, only to lose that independence within a year. People who had once prided themselves on taking care of themselves were now reliant on others for even the simplest things. It was as if the more help we were given, the more help we came to need. That cycle pulls you down faster than you can imagine, and once it starts, it's nearly impossible to reverse. Looking back, I wish I had pushed myself harder to stay active, even when everything around me encouraged me to rest. I wish I had fought the temptation to let others do for me what I could still do myself, because now I see that movement is not just about staying busy, it is about survival. Once you slow down, it takes everything you have to rise again. If you are considering this path, you must ask yourself whether you will still have the motivation to keep your body strong when the world around you tells you to sit and be comfortable. Because the truth is, ease can be dangerous, and the comfort you think you are gaining might actually be the very thing that speeds up the decline you fear most. One of the most difficult realities I faced after moving into the nursing home was the loss of privacy and the quiet dignity that comes with it. At home, I had always been able to close my door, sit in my chair, and simply be with myself. I could take a shower when I wanted, walk into the kitchen in the middle of the night, or spend the morning in my pajamas without anyone watching. Those choices were not just habits. They were part of who I was. Here, that sense of control slipped away almost immediately, and I didn't realize how much it mattered until it was gone. From the first week, I noticed the difference. Staff entered my room at scheduled times, sometimes without waiting long after a knock. Room checks were routine, and although I knew they were done for safety, they reminded me constantly that I was no longer alone in my own space. Even basic things like dressing or using the bathroom often required help. And though I was grateful for the assistance, it was not easy to surrender independence over such private moments. Each time I pressed the call button and waited for someone to come, I felt a piece of my self-respect slipping away. And then there was the matter of sharing a room. Not everyone has to, but many of us do. I was lucky in that my roommate was kind, but still, the space never truly felt mine. The sounds, the habits, even the small differences in how another person lived became constant reminders that this was not my sanctuary. For others, it was even harder. I knew people who shared with roommates who were noisy, confused, or restless at night, making sleep nearly impossible. When you cannot choose the person you live beside, you discover quickly how fragile peace can be. It extended beyond the room itself. Meal options were limited, and if I didn't like what was on the menu, I had little say. Activities were planned on schedules, not on personal preference. Even the simple act of sitting quietly sometimes felt like it was being supervised. I realized that in this environment, privacy was no longer a right but a luxury, and one that I couldn't always have. What struck me most was the way this constant oversight began to chip away at my sense of identity. At home, I was still an individual with routines, preferences, and choices. In the nursing home, I sometimes felt reduced to a patient, a name on a chart, someone to be cared for rather than someone living their own life. The change was subtle at first, but with each passing month, it became more difficult to ignore. Losing privacy is not just about being seen. It is about losing the ability to decide for yourself how and when you want to live the most ordinary parts of your day. Dignity is bound up in those choices. When someone enters without waiting, when you must ask permission to shower, when you cannot decide what or when to eat, the erosion of dignity is slow but relentless. You adapt, yes, but deep inside you feel the weight of what has been taken. For anyone considering this step, I cannot stress enough how important it is to think about what privacy means to you. It is easy to assume that being cared for will bring comfort, but what many do not realize is that comfort often comes with the cost of being constantly observed, managed, or dependent. And once that privacy is gone, reclaiming it is far harder than you might expect. Looking back, I see now that what I missed most were not grand freedoms, but the small daily choices that allowed me to feel human, whole, and in control. Without them, life inside those walls began to less like living and more like existing under watchful eyes. That, to me, was one of the hardest truths to face. Looking back on the journey of leaving home for a nursing facility, what strikes me most is not just the daily changes, but the slow unraveling of things I once took for granted. Independence, connection, purpose, strength, privacy, each slipped away in ways I never expected. None of it happened overnight. It was the gradual realization that comfort came with a price, and that price was the life I once knew. The meals, the help, the routines were meant to make living easier, but instead they carried me into a place where time moved forward, yet meaning seemed to fade. The hardest part was not simply losing control over my choices, but losing the sense of being fully myself. Yet within these regrets lies a powerful lesson, one I believe can guide others before they reach the same point. Aging does not mean surrendering who you are. Even when your body slows down, even when your circumstances change, you can still fight to protect the small things that give life its richness. Purpose does not vanish with age. It needs to be nurtured in new ways. Connection does not have to fade. It requires reaching out, speaking up, reminding family and friends that their presence matters more than gifts or promises. Independence is not only about living alone, it is about making sure your voice, your choices, and your dignity are honored wherever you are. For those of you listening now, the lesson is simple but powerful. Protect what makes you feel alive. If you are still in your own home, hold on to your routines, no matter how small. Water your plants, cook your own meals when you can, take those daily walks even if they are short. If you rely on others for help, do not give up on the choices that are still yours to make. Say what you prefer. Keep the hobbies that bring you joy. Write letters, sing, pray, or paint, whatever keeps your spirit awake. And if you are a family member with someone in a nursing home, know that your visits, your calls, your touch matter more than you can imagine. The minutes you share are lifelines. The truth is, getting older is not about losing everything. It is about holding on to what truly matters with more determination than ever before. You may not control every circumstance, but you can choose how you live within them. The regrets I have now are not meant to frighten you, but to remind you that you still have time to choose differently, to fight for your independence, to stay connected, to keep meaning alive. That is the gift you can give yourself, and it is never too late to start. So let me ask you kindly, do you believe that the small choices, like keeping a routine or a hobby, can truly make life more meaningful in old age? Please share your thoughts in the comments, because your perspective may inspire someone else who is struggling right now. And if you found this message meaningful, if it touched your heart or gave you something to reflect on, please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom. Leave a comment with your own experiences and share this video with friends who may need these words today. Your support gives us the strength to continue creating thoughtful and heartfelt videos for you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here, for listening, and for walking this path with us. Together, we can make each day richer, fuller, and brighter than the one before. Do you know that one decision after 70 could quietly erase decades of security and peace of mind? For many, the thought of remarrying in later life sounds like a new chapter, a second chance at love, a hand to hold through the final seasons of life. But beneath that hopeful picture lies a truth that often shocks seniors once it's too late. One walk down the aisle can become the doorway to financial vulnerability, a vulnerability that doesn't just touch your wallet, but your dignity, your independence, and even the legacy you leave behind. Wisdom Beyond 60, dear everyone. Let me ask you something straight from the heart. Have you ever considered what's truly at stake when you tie your life and assets to another person after 70? You've worked an entire lifetime to build stability, a modest home, a pension, savings tucked away, maybe a little inheritance for your children or grandchildren. All of it feels safe, until remarriage suddenly changes the rules of the game. The law doesn't always honor your careful planning. In fact, in many cases, it rewrites the script the moment you say, "I do." Imagine thinking you've secured a steady monthly Social Security survivor benefit from your late spouse, only to discover that remarrying erases it overnight. Picture a nest egg you thought would last you through retirement, now stretched thin to cover debts you didn't create. Medical bills, loans, or financial obligations from your new spouse's past. The reality is harsh. Your world, once stable, can shift dramatically with a single signature. And it isn't about bad intentions. Sometimes it's simply the system itself binding your future to someone else's financial story, whether you're ready for it or not. And then comes the inheritance question. Maybe you promised your daughter that the house she grew up in would one day belong to her, or you wanted to leave a small fund for your grandchildren's education. But remarriage can reroute that path. Without airtight legal protection, the assets you've spent a lifetime guarding may end up in the hands of a new spouse or even their family. These are not abstract warnings. They are lived realities for countless older adults who remarried in good faith and later found themselves watching their legacy slip away. Take a moment and think about the psychological weight of financial loss at this age. It's not just numbers on a bank statement. It's the feeling of losing control over the life you've built. It's the shame of having to tell your children that the money you thought would be theirs is gone. It's the anxiety that keeps you awake at night, wondering how you'll make your savings stretch when it's already too late to rebuild. Financial stability in your 70s isn't just about comfort. It's about peace of mind, about knowing you can live on your own terms without leaning on anyone else. That's why so many seniors, even those who crave companionship, have looked back and quietly admitted that remarriage brought them stress instead of joy. Not because love wasn't real, but because the consequences of mixing finances at this stage of life were heavier than they ever expected. The question isn't whether love matters, it always does. The question is whether you're willing to risk your independence, your benefits, and your legacy for it. Before we continue deeper into this subject, let me pause here to ask for your support. If these words are making you stop and think, even if they feel uncomfortable, it means you're beginning to see what so many only realize too late. Please subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom so we can keep creating honest, life-changing content that speaks directly to your stage of life. Your support is what allows us to bring forward the truths that matter most. Now, I want to leave you with a question to reflect on, and I'd love for you to answer it in the comments below. If you had to choose, which would you value more after 70? A, the security of your financial independence, even if it means living alone. B, the comfort of companionship, even if it comes with financial risk. Type A or B in the comments, and let us know what your heart tells you. Your perspective may help someone else who is facing the same choice. When we talk about love and companionship in our 70s, most of us picture evenings filled with laughter, a partner to share meals with, or someone to walk beside us during quiet afternoons. It sounds warm, safe, and healing. But there's another side of remarriage after 70 that rarely gets discussed until it arrives unannounced: the heavy responsibility of managing another person's health alongside your own. And at this stage in life, health isn't a small matter. It's the center of everything. By the time we reach our 70s, nearly all of us have our own set of health concerns. Maybe it's aching joints, rising blood pressure, or the daily routine of managing medications. These challenges already require energy and discipline. Now imagine adding another person's needs on top of your own: doctor's appointments, physical therapy sessions, special diets, medications with strict schedules. At first, it may seem like a small adjustment, but over time, it often becomes a never-ending responsibility that quietly consumes your days. What begins as gentle support can slowly transform into full-time caregiving. This shift can be subtle at first: a forgotten pill here, a request for help getting in and out of bed, maybe driving them to one or two extra appointments. But as the years pass, those small tasks expand. You may find yourself lifting, bathing, and managing round-the-clock care. And while you want to be there for someone you love, it comes with a hidden cost: your own health and spirit. Studies have shown again and again that older caregivers are at greater risk of exhaustion, depression, and even shortened lifespans. Why? Because they sacrifice their own rest, skip their own checkups, and lose the freedom to take care of themselves. I once met a woman who remarried at 75. She spoke about the joy she felt at finding love again, how it made her feel alive. But within 2 years, her husband had suffered a stroke. Overnight, her life shifted from peaceful mornings and community activities to long nights of worry, managing physical therapy and lifting a body that was heavier than her own strength could handle. Her own vision worsened. Her knees gave out, and the spark in her voice dimmed. She never stopped loving him, but she admitted quietly that she was losing herself in the process. That's the hidden truth many don't realize until they're living it. Caregiving in your 70s is not the same as caregiving at 40 or 50. It takes a toll that your body and mind may not have the energy to carry. This is not to say that love isn't worth it. Human beings are wired to care for each other, to be present in sickness and in health. But after 70, the question changes. It's no longer about what you're willing to give. It's about what you're still able to give without destroying yourself in the process. There's an old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. At this stage of life, your cup is precious. Your energy, your health, your sense of peace must be guarded carefully because they are not easily restored once drained. So before stepping into marriage again, ask yourself a question that goes beyond romance. Are you prepared to take on someone else's medical journey, today, tomorrow, and in the uncertain years ahead? If the answer carries even the slightest hesitation, honor that feeling. It's not selfishness, it's wisdom. Protecting your own health is not just for you, it's for your children, your grandchildren, and the years of independence you still deserve to enjoy. The beauty of later life is that it offers us clarity. We know time is finite, we know health is fragile, and we know that joy must be balanced with responsibility. Choosing love in your 70s is still possible, but it must be chosen with open eyes, clear boundaries, and the courage to admit what you can and cannot carry. Because in the end, the life you've earned, the peace, the rest, the freedom to focus on your own well-being is just as important as the companionship you may long for. And no decision, not even one made in the name of love, should take that away from you. One of the most overlooked realities of remarrying after 70 is not emotional at all. It's legal. Many seniors step into marriage later in life with good intentions, believing they are simply choosing companionship for their remaining years. But what often gets forgotten is that marriage is not only a personal commitment, it is a legal contract with consequences that can reach far beyond your own life. What feels like a simple promise of love can alter inheritances, disrupt long-standing financial plans, and even change who holds the power to make decisions when you no longer can. Think about the legacy you've spent decades shaping. Maybe it's a modest home you dreamed of passing on to your children. Maybe it's a savings account, a pension, or even heirlooms that carry the stories of your family's past. You might already have a will in place, documents that carefully outline where everything should go when your time comes. But here's the sobering truth. Remarriage can override those plans. In many states, a new spouse gains legal rights to a portion of your estate, no matter what your will says. That means your children could receive less than you intended, or worse, find themselves battling through court to claim what they believed was rightfully theirs. It doesn't end with inheritance. For many widows or widowers, survivor benefits from Social Security or pensions provide essential stability in later years. Those benefits, built on decades of marriage to a first spouse, can disappear the moment you remarry. The income you counted on, the safety net you thought was secure, may vanish simply because of a new marriage certificate. It is a reality that too many discover only when the checks stop coming, leaving them scrambling to adjust at an age when financial flexibility is almost impossible. And then there is the matter of medical authority. Picture this. You are rushed to the hospital, unable to speak for yourself. Who makes the decisions about your treatment? In most cases, it is your spouse, your new spouse, who is automatically granted that role by law. Even if your adult children know your wishes better or have been the ones supporting you for years, they may be legally sidelined. If tension already exists between your family and your new partner, the result can be devastating, not only for you, but for the people you love most. I recall the story of a woman who remarried in her 80s. She thought she was choosing gentle companionship for her later years. But when her health declined, her new husband had the legal power to make decisions about her care, decisions her daughter passionately disagreed with. What began as a loving marriage ended in legal conflict and fractured relationships, something she never could have imagined when she said yes. These are the kinds of complexities most people never consider when they think about remarriage. We're taught to focus on love, comfort, and the hope of not being alone. But ignoring the legal realities can leave behind confusion, conflict, and pain that outlast your own lifetime. Protecting your legacy, your health decisions, and your family's future requires clear thinking and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. It isn't unromantic to ask hard questions. It isn't cold to insist on legal clarity before you marry again. It is, in truth, one of the most loving things you can do for yourself and for the family who has walked beside you for decades. Marriage after 70 is not just about sharing your days with someone new. It is about recognizing that every choice now ripples through generations. And while companionship is precious, it should never come at the cost of leaving behind chaos and broken trust. So before you step into a marriage later in life, pause and consider the legal weight of that decision. Your wisdom, your foresight, and your courage to face the uncomfortable may be the very things that protect the people you care about most. By the time you reach 70, you've earned something that is more valuable than money, more precious than possessions, and more satisfying than recognition. That gift is freedom. The freedom to rise when you please, to enjoy a quiet morning without interruption, to set your own rhythm after decades of adjusting to the needs of others. But remarriage at this stage of life can quietly place that freedom in jeopardy, often in ways that aren't visible at the start. What looks like companionship can gradually reshape your daily existence, asking you to surrender the independence you've worked so hard to claim. When you were younger, compromise was expected. Building a life together meant adjusting your habits, sharing responsibilities, and learning to bend so that two lives could become one. But in your 70s, things are different. Your routines are no longer temporary preferences. They are the foundation of your well-being. You know which foods agree with you, how much rest you need, and what keeps your body and spirit steady. Introducing someone new into that carefully balanced life can feel less like joy and more like disruption. Perhaps your new partner prefers the television on from morning to night, while you've grown to cherish the sound of birds and the rustle of a newspaper. Maybe they expect full meals at strict times, while you've come to enjoy light, simple eating. These may sound like small differences, but they add up, slowly chipping away at the peace you once took for granted. And in later life, peace is not just comfort, it is medicine. Without it, even minor irritations can turn into stress that wears on your mind and body. There is also the emotional labor that comes with any relationship, no matter the age. Listening, negotiating, explaining, and managing expectations require energy. At 70 and beyond, that energy is finite. You may find yourself spending hours adjusting to another person's moods or family obligations, when all you really wanted was time to paint, read, or simply rest. Over time, the companionship that once felt sweet can begin to feel like a slow erosion of self. I once spoke with a woman who had lived independently for 7 years after losing her husband. She had built a rhythm that gave her joy. Early morning walks, afternoons with her books, weekends visiting her grandchildren. When she remarried, those patterns changed. At first, she loved the company, the shared dinners, and the laughter. But little by little, her mornings grew shorter, her alone time shrank, and her decisions required constant negotiation. I didn't mind compromise when I was younger, she admitted. But now, every little change feels like a loss. This doesn't mean that love and companionship have no place after 70. They absolutely do. But the reality is that the freedom you hold now is the result of decades of sacrifice. You spent years raising children, caring for spouses, working long hours, and serving the needs of others. At this stage, you have finally reached the season of life where you are entitled to live by your own rhythm. To give that up without careful thought is to underestimate the value of independence in later years. So before you say yes again, pause and ask yourself, do I truly want to share not only my heart, but also my schedule, my space, and my solitude? Am I ready to trade the freedom I have earned for the adjustments that come with marriage? The answers are not the same for everyone, but they must be faced with honesty. Because once freedom is gone, reclaiming it can be harder than you ever imagined. In your 70s, companionship can be beautiful, but peace and independence may be priceless. Your challenge is not to choose between love and solitude, but to decide what balance will honor the life you've already built. And that decision, made with clarity, can be the difference between years of quiet fulfillment and years of unspoken regret. When you think about remarriage in your 70s, the heart may focus on companionship, but the reality is that money and family ties often tell a more complicated story. By this age, your finances are not just numbers on a balance sheet. They are the result of a lifetime of sacrifice, hard work, and discipline. They represent your independence, your security, and the ability to live out your days on your own terms. Yet remarriage at this stage can bring financial entanglements that reach far deeper than many expect. In your 30s or 40s, combining assets can make sense. You're building together, saving for the future, creating a shared foundation. But in your 70s, the goal is different. You're no longer building, you're protecting. Every dollar saved, every property maintained, every account preserved, it's all meant to safeguard your peace of mind and perhaps create a legacy for your children or grandchildren. Remarriage has the power to disrupt that, not always intentionally, but through the legal and practical realities that come with blending lives. Consider what happens when a new spouse arrives with debts or financial obligations of their own. It might be unpaid medical bills, credit card balances, or even adult children who expect support. Suddenly, your careful planning is no longer just about you. Shared accounts, joint ownership, or even simple generosity can draw down the resources you had intended to last a lifetime. And because marriage is a legal union, your assets may be exposed in ways you didn't anticipate. One signature on a loan or one agreement to merge finances can begin to unravel years of work. Inheritance adds another layer of complexity. Perhaps you always assumed your estate would pass cleanly to your children or that your home would remain in the family. Without legal protections such as updated wills or prenuptial agreements, remarriage can blur those lines. The assets you hoped would strengthen your family's future might instead become part of another family's story. The result can be conflict between stepchildren and your own children, resentment and fractured relationships that linger long after you're gone. I once spoke to an elderly man who remarried in his 80s after losing his wife of 50 years. He entered the marriage with trust and hope, believing that love would see them through. But within 2 years, he found himself paying off medical expenses he hadn't anticipated and supporting his new spouse's son, who struggled financially. The savings he had earmarked for his daughter's inheritance dwindled, and in the end, he was forced to sell the vacation property that had been in his family for decades. His words stayed with me. I just wanted companionship, but I ended up giving away half my life. The truth is not that remarriage always leads to financial ruin. Many couples manage it well with honesty, planning, and legal safeguards. But the risks are undeniable, and at this stage of life, the margin for error is slim. You do not have the luxury of decades to rebuild what you might lose. That is why clarity is essential. Clear conversations with your partner, clear legal agreements, and clear boundaries about what you are and are not willing to risk. This stage of life should be about peace, security, and choosing how to spend your days without fear of financial chaos. Love and companionship are beautiful, but they must be balanced with the wisdom to protect yourself and your family. Ask yourself whether you are prepared to merge not just your heart, but your estate, your obligations, and your legacy. If you feel even a shadow of doubt, it may be a sign to pause, seek advice, and ensure that your choices honor the life you have already built. Because in the end, money in later years is not about wealth, it is about freedom. And your freedom deserves to be guarded just as carefully as your heart. By the time we step into our 70s, we have lived through storms, victories, heartbreaks, and joys that younger generations may never fully understand. We've given, sacrificed, and built a life with our own 2 hands. And now, many of us stand at a crossroads, wondering if remarriage will bring comfort or conflict. What we've explored together reveals a truth that is not always easy to face. While love in later years is real and valuable, it often comes with financial risks, health burdens, legal complications, and the quiet erosion of freedom. Yet this conversation is not meant to scare or discourage. It is meant to empower, because with wisdom comes the ability to make choices that truly honor the life we have already built. The lesson here is not that love should be avoided or that companionship is dangerous. The deeper lesson is that you, as an elder who has carried so much for so long, deserve to choose wisely. You deserve to ask hard questions and set boundaries without guilt. You deserve to protect your financial security, your health, your independence, and the legacy you want to leave behind. The truth is, at this stage of life, you no longer have to prove anything to anyone. You are whole as you are. And whether companionship enters your life through marriage, through deep friendships, or through time spent with family and community, what matters most is that it nurtures you instead of drains you. So how can you apply this lesson today? Start with clarity. Take a fresh look at your finances and your plans for the future. Have open conversations with your family about your wishes. If you are considering companionship, talk honestly about boundaries, expectations, and what you can and cannot give. And most importantly, remember that solitude does not mean loneliness. You can find fulfillment in small routines, in hobbies, in the laughter of grandchildren, and in the peace of your own company. The choice you make now should be rooted not in fear of being alone, but in trust that your life still holds meaning, even without a ring on your finger. We are conditioned to think that being partnered means being complete. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if this season of life is not about blending with someone else, but about returning to yourself? The wisdom of age teaches us that joy is not always found in adding more, but in appreciating what already is. And if love does come, let it be on terms that protect your dignity and honor your journey. Now I'd like to hear from you. If you had the choice today, what would bring you the greatest peace? Sharing your days with someone new, or preserving the independence you've worked so hard to build? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective may help another person who is wrestling with the same question. And if this video has given you something to reflect on, something that touches your heart or opens your eyes, please support our channel. If you find our message meaningful, subscribe to Beyond 60 Wisdom. Leave a comment with your experiences and share this video with your friends so they too can think about these important choices. We promise to listen to your feedback, to take your stories seriously, and to keep creating content that speaks directly to the reality of life after 60. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for being here. Your presence gives us the strength to continue this journey with you every single day. Have you ever noticed how one ordinary morning, the way you wake up suddenly feels different? Your body slower, your energy a little dimmer, your sleep no longer the deep uninterrupted rest you once knew? It almost feels like life is whispering to you that the ground beneath your feet has shifted, and the pace you've always taken for granted is no longer yours to command. This is the hidden reality of reaching 80. It doesn't come with a loud announcement, it slips in quietly. One restless night at a time, one tired afternoon nap that you didn't plan for, and suddenly you find yourself asking, when did my days begin to feel shorter and my nights so long? Wisdom Beyond 60. Dear everyone, I want to welcome you today to a journey most people are too afraid to talk about, yet every single one of us is destined to face. At 80, your body will change in ways you never imagined. You may have spent decades thinking you could push through fatigue, skip a night of rest, or wake up fresh after hours of work. But now, your energy doesn't bounce back so easily. Your nights may feel broken, your sleep light, and the morning sun greets you far earlier than you'd like. To some, this feels like a loss, even a betrayal in the body, yoga classes, or what if I told you morning gatherings? This shift is not a curse, but an invitation. These interactions, an invitation to slow down, to truly hear what your body has been trying to tell you all along. The exercise itself. Rest is sacred. When the body moves, the heart opens, relationships deepen. For this change in energy and sleep becomes not simply about getting transforming exercise. It is a reminder that your body is wise, into a shared celebration. Prioritize differently, to value small windows of strength, movement, and to savor moments of peace. Every stretch, every step, may no longer every breath taken during exercise is a reminder that life still holds possibility. An awareness of time, even if age has brought challenges, even if the body carries scars. When you learn to adapt, the act of rest when needed move is a declaration the quiet mornings, worth the gentle afternoons. You will discover that even I am slowing down, I am alive. There is, and I choose to live with energy, soft rather than surrender to music to life. So, and yet, when we think of exercise in later life, it can feel shocking seeing it as a burden. To suddenly realize it is not about counting no longer measuring miles the way it used to. It is about admit that naps have become as important as meals. Every is not easy. It can even stir up to mood. Am I losing control of relationships? Am I fading confidence to hope? But I want you to hear me clearly. Far deeper than you are not realize. You are transformed. And while the earlier sections spoke of risks and consequences, strength is not measured by speed. This is the other side of the story. By wisdom, patience is not merely about avoiding life flow through you. It is about claiming what was once a race is now an art. Every person. If you've ever woken up at 3 a.m. and staring at the ceiling, wondering why you cannot drift back into practical ways to know that you are not alone to daily life, millions so that they are not just quiet hours, but here realities you can feel. Those hours are a gift as we bring all of this together. Instead of frustration, they can be a time life after 60 is not about surrendering time, but about choosing how we live each day. That the younger years, the years behind you, to carry memories, wisdom, and experience. Nights may be years ahead, can still carry strength, the power, and freedom. Weave those if you are willing to care for your body and sense of connection with yourself. Inactivity is a quiet thief, taking away that is why I am by little. To guide you through these gentle truths that gives back more than it asks. To uncover the parts no one told you about. Each stretch, and to show you that there is beauty, is an act of self-respect and love. So before we dive deeper into what really unfolds after 80, think about the I ask you for a small favor matter most. Please subscribe to our channel. Being able to get out of bed without struggle, so that we can continue with the share these stories, standing long enough to cook your favorite meal, reflections, laughing and playing with your grandchildren gives us without running out of breath, creating to keep these reaching those who need these words in later life. Together, and they are all we can build a community where aging is not feared, but embraced as the body may not respond the way it did at 20 and now 30, I want to leave you, but it still responds to the comments below, and it still rewards you when you imagine you wake tomorrow and feel your energy fading. What matters is not perfection, but persistence. A short walk, fight against a set of gentle push yourself harder, or even dancing slowly to your favorite song in the living room. B can make all the difference when practice. Allow yourself to rest and see what the wisdom slower rhythm might reveal. Aging is not just about surviving. Which one it is about living well, A or B? I can't wait to read your gives you independence, and independence one of the quiet truths that reveals itself as it keeps you connected to yourself, to speak to your loved ones, to our bodies, to the world around you. At 40, the habit of avoiding late night snacks, more than heavy dinners, or rich desserts, is a way of telling without much confidence that you still belong fully in the story of maybe you know the small signals. When you decide to just move here, you are not only protecting your health, but by the time you reach confidence, those signals become louder. For those of you watching, almost like your body is begging you to finally not wait for the perfect plan. Eating isn't just about time or the perfect condition to begin. It becomes a matter of comfort, what you can do right now. Balance, walk around your home, lift your arms, and breathe deeply. Or how dramatically digestion can enjoy the later years. Make it simple. Foods that once felt nourishing may now leave you restless at night or drain the next morning. Create big changes in how large dinner that you once enjoyed. And remember, might now sit too late to begin, keeping you awake. Every choice you make now, the little sleep you manage to find. It's not weakness, it's a shift in how your body processes energy. If you had to choose slows, would you rather spend your later years and the digestive system asks for gentleness, or rather than with enough strength to keep your independence a little longer? This can turn meals into battles. Please share your answer in the comments. Your perspective might inspire someone else. Deeper truth. This stage of life isn't about restriction. It's about finding meaning or encouragement here. Instead of focusing on what you can't eat anymore, think of it as rediscovering how this video was valued in a way that honors your body. Subscribe to the channel. Smaller portions, leave a comment, lighter thoughts, and more mindful share it with your friends or family. Often mean better, so more people steadier energy from these reminders and fewer health complications. At Beyond 60 Wisdom, it's not deprivation. We are honored to walk this liberation from habits that no longer serve your voices. Your support, imagine trading the heaviness of overeating. Give us the energy for the light, creating more content refreshed, filled with care. That shift alone can transform how you experience your days and nights. From the heart. What makes this change emotional? We look forward to growing stronger together, one step at a time. Family dinners, holiday feasts, comfort on hard days. Letting go of certain patterns can feel like losing pieces of yourself. But what if instead of mourning, you reframe it as creating new rituals? A warm bowl of soup at night instead of a heavy plate of meat. A handful of nuts instead of a sugary dessert. Herbal tea replacing late night coffee. These aren't sacrifices. They are choices rooted in wisdom. Choices that say, I love my body enough to care for it differently now. And here lies a secret that many never discover. Simplicity in food often brings back joy. At 80, your palate can become more sensitive, more appreciative of natural flavors. The sweetness of a ripe peach, the richness of a small piece of dark chocolate. Imagine waking up fresh each morning after 60 can bring more satisfaction, believing that the most elaborate meal ever changed your life. By simplifying, what if I told you that the smallest actions you take in those first waking moments from consuming out of habit not just your day with intention, but the way you experience. There's also a spiritual side to this. This is not about grand promises or miracles for how we live. It's about, do we cling to old habits, refusing to adapt, or do we embrace change with grace? The reality allowing new rhythms to guide us into routines after 60. Every meal becomes an opportunity to means slowing down, gratitude and acceptance, and waiting for life to pass gently. No matter how simple the food and say is one of the most dangerous myths. I am getting older. So yes, eating may change after 8, either drain your vitality little by little, or recharge you with an energy. It invites you to deepen your relationship with nourishment. Wisdom beyond to honor your body's wisdom. And to let go of the belief that youth's appetites must remain forever. Truly reflect. The truth is, every sunrise gives us to eat now has the power to give you same path of habit that slowly but betters both body and spirit. Lighter, more restful. Or do we dare to choose 5 simple actions that worth more that keep our holding on to a plate that no longer loves you back? And the next time you sit down for a meal, this video will not just tell you what to do. Am I eating out of habit? Why these actions matter more than most people realize? That single question can change not only what started on your plate, but how you experience unknowingly still waiting ahead. And in doing so, there comes a point in life their health, when the body no longer tolerates and even their joy for too long before it is necessary. At 60, you might have already felt the stiffness creeping into your joints. The difference after between feeling drained by noon, but by 70 or day with vitality. The difference between often comes down to a handful of choices. Becomes dramatic hour after wait. Remaining sedentary for imagine standing at a crossroads doesn't just make you feel sluggish. One road leading to actively shortened quality and low spirits. The other guiding you toward clarity, circulation, energy, flow, and strength. And the simple act of standing or walking can become a new challenge. How simple the steps really are. Most people don't realize the heart that inactivity today can be as damaging. I invite you to stay with me until the very end. Sometimes even more because each of these 5 morning practices eroding strength is like independence without warning. Alone, it may seem ordinary, is that movement almost too simple to matter, to look like but when you place them together, they don't have to run marathons, lift heavy weights, or push your body to exhaustion. More under what matters is consistency. And this is what so many people after 60 are desperate. Walking around the neighborhood, stretching each not morning, a promise of living forever, or dancing to your favorite old song. Right, these are powerful enough to keep the body alive with energy. Let me ask for a small favor. The key isn't intensity. If you find this message valuable now, your body takes responds like subscribe to Beyonce. It needs sunlight and water. By doing so, not once you're not just supporting this channel. By moving daily, you're encouraging small ways of more. You tell your body brings clarity. I still need you encouragement and strength. I still need you steady. Just one of the often overlooked benefits of daily gives us the motivation. Is how it nourishes the minds that matter. Seniors now, keep active. Here's something to think about while you listen. Calm. I want you to answer honestly and share your thoughts in the comments below. The slow breath if you had to choose, which one matters the balance required fulfilling life after 60 can quiet the mind in ways medication never could. And strengthening your physical science has proven that exercise releases chemicals nurturing your emotional pressure and boosts sense of connection. But beyond the comment science, your answer. There's a spiritual reminder here. And tell us movement is life. There's no right or wrong. You are your choice yes may reveal what your heart values most. And let's not forget the role and as you reflect, connection. Stay with me. Taking a because in the next few minutes, not just about you'll discover how just 5 but about moments notice can shape the neighbor's smile, the blooming flower, the child waving on the sidewalk. These small exchanges remind you that you belong, that you are still a part of when you rise in the morning after 60. Staying your body has already been working through the night, moving, repairing, no matter how balancing, and keeps you engaged in the world. Yet when the first light slips through the window, moving your body, it's as if your system is still half asleep to maintain waiting for your choice. At 80, keep drifting, the ability to rise from a chair without help. This is carry your own first minutes matter so climb a few stairs, and why one of the most vital things you can do and living on your own terms. Body moving and give it whatever every stretch after hours every of rest is like adding a simple glass savings account strength often overlooked that you will draw upon. But think of it if you neglect to invest, wakes the inner you'll find yourself bankrupt after a night of natural dehydration. Your cells are thirsty. You build circulation is sluggish you from frailty, and your digestion is waiting to be nudged away. The biggest barrier is often not the body, but the mind. It's like a soft knock on the door. Many people believe it's too late, telling they've slowed down. It's time to begin. But that is simply not true. You don't need anything fancy, and countless real water at the right temperature even those who start stomach and ready your body for the day's remarkable improvement. And once the body has been reminded it is alive, at any age comes the second to heal, to strengthen, to adapt. At this stage of life, it's never about how far you go, that true exercise must be intense or demanding. So ask yourself this. But the truth is, when was the last time you let your body feel the joy most is not to conquer miles, not as an obligation, weights, not as but to honor your body by keeping it flexible and flowing. The truth is, your body was designed to move. 15 minutes, and every time you honor that slow walking, you reclaim a piece of vitality. Shoulders and turning your head. At this stage of life, astonishing is not about adding years. It's about adding life into that has been idle all night. And the beauty, if you try to run it suddenly at full speed or equipment, just the willingness to rise, stretch, and take that first step into motion. That simple choice can change the entire rhythm of your day. And soon it hums. Your body is no danger that creeps into life after 6. Blood begins to circulate, not always and stiffness slowly releases its grip. Isn't the body growing? This is not about chasing the silver hairs multiplying to be 20 again. It's isolation. It's about preserving dignity. Humans were never meant to carry the weight of days treating the body with respect. We are wired for connection. Too many older adults ignore these moments, telling themselves that movement can wait, seeps into their mind. Water doesn't matter, the spirit, and but in the body. These small choices has been shown to weaken the immune silently shaping how strong raise blood pressure, how and accelerate decline, and even how confident. Yet beyond the science, step anyone who has felt the echo of an empty house or the long stretch of a silent choose life in motion. Rather being alone too long drains the very. There is also something quietly sacred about this. But here's the hidden beauty: the warmth connection of water does not have to fade with age. The slow stretch of muscles awake can grow richer. The rhythm of breath sinking with more soul nourishing than ever. It is a reminder that you are at this stage of life. Still, the masks are thinner. Still blessed. The another day to live. And what it's not dramatic, no longer impressive, not glamorous, but it is being deeply human. A phone call perhaps to an old friend, makes it powerful. A walk with a neighbor. These are not grand sacrifices or even sitting with grandchildren. They are whispers of self-care that grow louder small practice daily. They are as you commit to these two small acts. Each moment of shared hydrating with intention thread that weaves joy back into daily life. You begin to notice subtle changes. The truth is, relationships feel less heavy, need to be mended. Your mind feels a bit clearer, meaningful. And the stiffness that once made you dread getting out of bed night feels begins to loosen its hold. One friend who these are not promises without explanation, but can be enough to change the course of your emotional health. And that is the wisdom age has always taught us. It's not about surrounding yourself with crowds. That consistency matters more, but about allowing yourself to, and that gentleness often triumphs over force. Sometimes the greatest joy before you let the rush of the day take over, but from simply sitting in silence with someone who cares. Drink slowly. This is also the time to let go of toxic ties. Let your body know when every year becomes more precious. Reward you with there's little sense in spending it still within drain rather than up. These are the choices that protecting not only your not selfish, but the way you carry yourself into each by releasing relationships and in that quiet power, you make room for the ones that nurture your spirit. Surround yourself with people who bring laughter, wisdom, and warmth. There is a kind of nourishment that water and food alone cannot provide. Technology, too, and it is something that becomes rather than more essential. A simple video call can collapse miles into moments. I'm talking about the quiet online feeding of the mind, senior club, calming of or faith communities, open doors to shared interests and new friendships. Your body may begin to stir. For those who fear becoming irrelevant or invisible, but the heart and mind is the still wait for their own. When you share your story, offer your wisdom. This is where the practice of breathing deeply, you remind pausing and stillness and yourself can shift the entire direction of your day. And it does not require a mountaintop or connection. Isn't just about others. It can happen in your favorite chair with your feet firmly on the floor, to connect with your eyes gently closed, to sit quietly and ask, "What do I need today?" 3 minutes of slow, what would make me feel alive? Breathing. Drawing air yourself and letting it fill the lungs, you create a stronger foundation for every other relationship in your life. Steady nerves, because when you feel full within and soften you can give without fears that often linger at this stage. So as the years unfold, the beauty of these few let your life be filled not with silence and distance. The world will not pause for laughter, yet in that short practice, you create joy after where your mind and heart in grand achievements or possessions. In a dozen it is found in moments of togetherness. Many people think of calm as something they must chase, the courage to keep reaching out. It is something you allow. The more you give of your presence, your body sends a message to the nervous return. It is safe. Loneliness is not your destiny, and it can release the tension carried overnight. There's blood pressure hidden thief of vitality after 60. that
and
many
sense
people
of clarity
overlook,
arrives.
and it sneaks in
It's
when the sun
remarkable
goes down.
how something so basic,
Poor
breath,
sleep isn't just
becomes
about
a
feeling
form of
groggy
medicine
the
for the
next
spirit
when
it
practiced with
erodes your
intention.
body's ability to heal,
But it doesn't have to stop
restore,
there.
and protect itself.
Some mornings,
During
after
sleep,
breathing,
your brain
may
clears
find
toxins,
comfort in opening a
your
small
cells
book of
repair
wisdom,
damage,
a page
and
or
your
two
immune
that
system
stirs reflection
strengthens.
rather than
When
rush.
those hours are cut short,
Or perhaps
filled
you
with
write down one
restlessness,
line of gratitude.
you don't just lose
one
rest,
thing,
you lose
no matter how
resilience.
small.
Over
You are
time,
thankful for.
broken sleep
These
patterns
small
can
acts
steal
are
your
more than
energy.
habits. They
They are
are
rituals
rituals
of meaning,
and even
they
accelerate
remind you that
aging
life,
in ways
even
you
in
might
its
not
later
notice
chapters,
until it feels
is still
too late.
rich with purpose,
But
and
here's
with
the
gifts
encouraging
waiting to be
truth.
noticed.
They teach you
not
that out of your
soul,
control,
like the body,
no matter
needs
your
its own
age.
exercise to remain
It's not about
strong.
sleeping like a teenager again.
Consider how
It's
different
about
a day
creating an
feels
environment
when it
and a
begins
rhythm
in
that
hurried
tells your body
distraction
you are
versus when it
safe.
begins in
It's
mindful
time to
calm.
rest. The contrast
One
is
of the most
striking.
powerful changes
Without
is
this
establishing
pause,
a consistent
it is easy
evening
to
routine.
fall into
Simple
a rhythm
steps
where
like
the
dimming
hours
the
feel
lights,
heavy,
turning
and
off
unmanageable.
screens, or enjoying a
But when
warm
you start
herbal
with
tea,
stillness,
can
the
gently
same
signal to
challenges
your body
seem
that
lighter.
the day is
The
closing,
same task
and
rest
less
is near.
overwhelming.
And even
Think of it
ordinary
as tucking your
routines are
mind into
approached with
bed
more
long
patience.
before your head hits the
This
pillow.
is not about ignoring
Equally
problems or
important
pretending
is protecting
everything's
the
perfect.
hours you dedicate to
It is
sleep.
about giving yourself
Many
the
people in
strength
later
and
life
resilience
fall into the
to meet
trap of
whatever
late
comes
night
with
television,
steadiness,
endless
instead of
scrolling,
strain.
or worrying
As
in the
people
silence
grow
of the
older,
night. One of the
but
most
reclaiming
common
those
fears
hours
is
is like
control
reclaiming your health
over health.
over
Studies show that
circumstances,
even adding
over time
30 to 60
itself.
minutes of quality
Yet here is a
sleep each
place
night
where
can
control
dramatically
is
entirely
improve
yours.
memory, mood,
No one
and
can
energy
take
levels.
and no one can give
It's
it
not about
you.
perfection, but
Choosing
about
to
small
breathe
shifts
deeply,
that
to sit
accumulate
quietly,
profound
to reflect with
benefits.
gratitude is choosing
And let's
to
talk
claim
about
your
the
morning
bedroom
as your
itself.
own. And by
Your
doing
sleep
so,
space
you
should
plant
feel like a
seeds of
sanctuary,
peace that grow
not a
into the
storage
rest
room.
of the day. A comfortable
Think of it
mattress
as tending to
cool
an inner
air,
garden.
and darkness
If you
are
water
not
it
luxuries.
daily with calm
They are
and
necessities.
gratitude, it flourishes.
The body sleeps best
If you
when it
neglect
feels
it,
cradled,
of stress and
safe,
anxiety
and
creep
free of
in.
distractions.
The choice is subtle.
If you've ever
but
woken
the
up tired
consequences
after
stretch
8
far
hours
beyond
in
the
a
few
noisy,
minutes you
cluttered,
invest.
or uncomfortable room,
By honoring
you
this part
already
of your
know
morning,
how much your
you are not
environment
only
matters.
calming the mind,
Treat
you
your
are shaping
bedroom
the
as a place
atmosphere of
reserved
your
for
entire
peace,
day,
and it will
one
give
breath
peace
at a
back
time.
to you. Of course, the mind plays its part as well. Racing thoughts, old regrets, or tomorrow's worries can sneak into bed with you. Breakfast has often been called the most important meal of many find practices, and for those who have stepped into life reading something uplifting, that phrase even writing down tomorrow's to-do list before bed. So after a night of fast, it's like laying your bodies down at the door, waiting so your body can slip into true rest, not just to keep you moving. You may not control what tomorrow brings, but you can control the way you prepare your hours at night. The mistake many people make is either skipping this meal altogether, sleep, or filling it with wasted that satisfies for the moment. It is the foundation that allows you to truly tired the hours and unprepared for the day. When you sleep deeply, you give your body the chance to restore. Breakfast is not about the clarity to focus. It is about nourish calm that works with your body, joy, not against it. Without it, think of every other foundation, healthy eating, exercise, if you build social carelessly, loses materials. With the rest of the everything else grows strong, feel unstable. So if you want to protect your energy, your even the simplest and your sense of vitality that carries you steadily from guard your evenings like treasure. A bowl of rituals that soothe whole grain, spaces that provide slow, steady routines that remind your body fruit like a handful of berries or a slice of apple. Because each night delivers natural, not just another invaluable fiber. It's an investment. A boiled egg or a few spoonfuls of clarity adds protein that keeps and the more consistently you honor that gift, the brighter and fuller life after 60 becomes. But when combined, they form a breakfast. As we reach the later chapters of life, one giving your body clear exactly every passing year. What matters most just not the years we choose, but the way we choose to fried foods, heavy meats, it's easy to look back with regret at satisfying for a moment. Friendships that fade leave you sluggish or habits we wish we had changed later in the day. But the remarkable thing about life is that it never stops giving us a chance. Your digestion will thank you. Your energy, whether you are 60 and your mornings will feel less weight or beyond. The preparing something small the night before can also make the routine easier and fulfillment. A jar of oats every day holds the potential to nourish your body, or bread chosen with care and connect your heart to little acts of preparation. The lesson hidden inside all the struggles that you'll follow through in the morning. Stress, loneliness, even on days poor routines, wake up tired, unhealthy patterns, or restless nights. It is not only the physical benefits that they are not life sentences. The act of simply reminders that we have choice of presence. You still have the power to lighten your heart, taking a walk outside, to call allowing yourself to taste, put down the phone, and pick up and breathe. To breathe creates a rhythm that slows the rush more soundly. Instead of leaping into chaos, you begin with together they create the difference, reminding yourself that your health and well-being truly are priorities for the years ahead. For older, especially true when you share the table with someone else. Profound.
A brief conversation, you don't need to chase a grand transformations or even quiet companionship over tea. The key is found in gentle, steady source of connection and joy. Choosing a nourishing meal, often sharing laughter with a neighbor, breakfast as or turning off the TV an hour earlier to rest your body is enough to carry. These are not small acts, but they are declarations that the body beyond 60 or happiness not on caffeine empty still matter, but on gentle, beauty, steady nourishment. Never too late. When you give your body the right start habit, you practice your consistency, sharpen add vitality to your day, invite more lightness to your day. It is not a message perfection or elaborate recipe. Your later life is not about what you have lost, consistent, but about what you that add up over time. Choices that remind your body, younger generations they are do not yet understand caring for. You have the gift when the morning comes. Do not overlook the storms and seeing the sunshine return away that respects. This experience is not just for you, and the energy meant to still want to carry, to inspire breakfast, to strengthen families, and to remind us all quiet declaration that old choosing to honor your health, but a passage, your energy, season, and your presence in this world. So let this be your invitation as a way of saying, instead of dwelling on what will not be changed, and I will care for myself, what you can still do today. Take that first step toward better health. Choose kindness over criticism. After you have cared for your body, reach out instead of retreating, movement, rest instead of rushing. There remains one more act that often when you plant enough of greater weight, you grow a garden of peace. It is the strength and joy that no one can take. Connection. The great lesson in the rush of life after 60 many is not about underestimate how vital it is to reach out. Waking up to the simple treasures of health, one of the quietest burdens of growing presence. It does not announce the fact that each sunrise, it shows up slowly in silence, story in the absence of voices that once filled the home. Waking up to the true mornings where the phone does not ring, still be ahead. And while no meal or exercise can entirely replace the warmth of something human closeness, you have the power to bring it back into your life. You would like to change or improve in your daily life each morning to bring yourself more after tending to your own health. Share it in the comments below so that others can learn from your perspective, or even we can encourage one to greet a neighbor. And if you found this message meaning ordinary, almost touched your heart to the heart, or gave you even a spark of inspiration is to the body, please consider a kind word exchange, a familiar laugh share, leave your thoughts in the comments, a simple good morning. Share this video with a friend or loved, reminding you that you are not. Let us continue to grow this community of for someone else and encouragement together. Your words may be from the bottom of our hearts. We thank you for being giving connection. Your presence gives us strength and motivation at this stage of life. More heartfelt videos for you. Friends may continue to walk this family may be busy, side by side, easier to withdraw than to reach out, and the belief that life after 60 can be rich. Isolation quietly weakens the spirit, while connection strengthens it. The act of calling a son or daughter, of writing a note to a grandchild, of checking in on a friend, these are not small things. They are lifelines, weaving together the fabric of belonging that holds us steady when the world feels uncertain. Even if the conversation lasts only a minute, the effect often lingers for hours, softening stress, lifting energy, and restoring a sense of purpose. Connection also carries a hidden gift. It reminds you of who you are. When you tell a story, share advice, have you ever walked into listened to someone else's day, share what's been troubling your voice and left still nothing more than presence. Well, that's just what happens when you get older. Being valued and needed. It sounds harmless, strongest protectors of well-being in later life. But behind those words, it guards against the heaviness of solitude that could cost you, keeps the mind engaged, the heart alive. Some mornings, the effort may feel unnecessary in plain sight. You may think they don't nothing here from a normal aging, or I'll do it that nagging joint pain, the breathlessness that makes you stop halfway up the stairs. The lapses in memory you've noticed remain in silence, or what if they're not just part of getting older? When you choose connection, warning signs, you not only nourish yourself, you strengthen the reassurance you were given was in fact the very thing standing your final morning have healthier, as essential as stretching, as vital. Wisdom beyond 60. Once you have filled your cup of care for body and mind, curtain on a pour some of that care out. Want to imagine. Call someone. Sometimes, write to someone. Biggest threat to your health isn't these illness acts transform the way into something more than routine. I've heard they transform them into moments of meaning, sometimes years, and in that meaning, before discovering that what they were faced whatever was just aging, every sunrise gives you another chance to remind yourself and vitamin deficiency. We are still here. Even early stage cancer still connected. These are conditions that could have been spoken or unspoken, even reversed, if maybe the most powerful gift you can give to yourself. Why does this happen? And to those you love. In part, it's the pressure doctors face. So many patients, so little time. As we
When an
come to
older
the
person
end of this
walks in
reflection,
describing familiar
it's important
symptoms,
to remember
it's tempting
that the
to take the
mornings of
simple
our later
route.
years are
And
not
yes,
simply about
aging
filling
changes
time,
the body,
but about shaping life.
simple isn't always
Each
accurate.
of the 5
And
simple
in medicine,
practices we have talked
accuracy
about,
can be the difference
drinking
between
warm
decline
water
and recovery.
moving your body gently,
Calming the
danger
mind with
is
breath
that
and
once your
stillness,
symptoms are stamped
nourishing
with a label
yourself
just
with a
getting
balanced
old,
breakfast,
the urgency
and reaching
to
out to
investigate
others
fades are not grand.
You're told to rest
difficult
more,
tasks.
to take it easy.
They are
while
small,
the real cause
ordinary
silently
actions.
gets worse.
Yet
They hold
I knew a
extraordinary
man in
meaning
his 80s who
because
started
of the
feeling
consistency
unusually
and
tired
care
with
behind it.
occasional dizzy spells.
They are
His doctor
reminders that
chalked it
no
up to
matter your
slowing
age,
down with age.
you still
told
have
him to get
choices
more
every
rest.
single day.
But something
that
in
determined
his
how
gut
you
told
feel,
him it didn't feel
how
right.
you think,
Months
and how
later,
connected
after
you remain
insisting
to the
on more
world around
tests,
you.
they found a
The
heart
deeper
valve
truth
problem.
is that age does not
Something that
diminish
could be
our
fixed.
ability to live
And
with
when it
intention.
was, his energy
Instead,
came roaring
it
back.
magnifies the
He later
importance
said,
of those
I
intentions.
wish someone had listened the first time.
A young body
That's
can
the
sometimes
tragedy
overlook
here.
the consequences of skipping
Not just
care,
the
but after
misdiagnosis,
60,
but the
your
months of
body
life
and
you
mind
could have
respond
lived better.
clearly and quickly to the
Here's
choices
the
you
truth.
make.
Aging
Few minutes
explains
of
some
movement
things,
eases stiffness,
but it doesn't
a
explain
mindful
everything.
breath lowers the
Every
day's
cough,
pressure. Every sudden
a
change in
call to a
mobility,
loved one,
every
lightens
unexplained weight
loneliness.
loss deserves
When
a closer
combined,
look.
these
No matter
moments
how many
become more than
candles are
habits.
on your birthday
They become a
cake.
philosophy of living.
You deserve the
One
same
where
level
you
of
honor
investigation
yourself
and
and
those
respect
around
someone
you
with
decades
presence
younger
and love.
because your health
The
matters
lesson
just
here
as much
is
now
not about
as it ever
chasing
did years on a calendar.
So if
but
you've
about
ever been
creating
told
quality
it's
with
just
just
your
your
age
age you have, and felt that
every
pang of doubt
sunrise
deep
is an
inside,
invitation to participate
listen to
fully
it.
in your
Ask
own
questions,
life.
to remind
tests.
yourself that you are
Make
not
it clear
passive
you
in
want
the journey
answers,
of aging,
not
but
just
an active
reassurance.
author of how you
The
experience
stakes are
it.
too high to
By
settle for
practicing
less.
these morning steps,
Before
you are
we
telling
go
your
deeper
body,
into this
your
eye-opening
mind,
journey,
and your
I
spirit
want to ask
that
for
they
your
are worthy
support.
of care.
If you
And when
believe
you
your
treat
health and
yourself
dignity
with that
matter
kind
at
of
every
respect,
stage of life,
you naturally
please
carry
subscribe
more
to our
peace,
channel.
Your
Patience
encouragement helps
and
us
energy
create more powerful
into
content
everything else
that
you
can
do.
protect and empower
So how
people
can you
just
apply
like
this
you.
right now?
And now,
I'd
begin
love for you to
tomorrow
think
with
about
one
this.
change.
Question.
Not all 5 at
If you
once.
experienced a new
Maybe it's the glass
unexplained
of warm
symptom
water.
tomorrow,
Maybe it's
what
3
would you
minutes
do
of steady
first?
breathing.
Or
A,
maybe
accept
dialing
it
a
as
number,
just
and hearing
part
the
of getting
voice of
older.
someone you miss.
B, push
Build
for a
a
thorough
thorough
checkup and
Allow
ask for
these
detailed
actions to
explanations.
become natural.
Comment
and
your answer
notice how
below,
they
or
ripple
B,
through the
and tell
rest
us
of
why.
day.
Your
With
stories
time,
might be the
these little
inspiration
steps
someone
weave
else
into a
needs
pattern
to
of
take their
strength,
health seriously.
clarity,
There's another
and
quiet
joy
truth
they
that
will
many
not
older
erase
adults
every
don't
challenge,
even realize,
but they will
is
give you a
shaping their
stronger
medical
foundation
foundation
to
to stand on.
Some doctors
no matter
believe
what
you won't
comes your way
or can't.
Now
follow
I'd like
through
to
on a
hear from
treatment
you.
plan.
The same
If you
way
had
a
to
younger
choose
patient
just
might.
one of these habits to
They may
begin with
never
tomorrow
say it out
morning,
loud.
which
Which
would
would
it
it
be?
be? Beneath the
Drinking
surface
warm
of their
water to
recommendations.
awaken your body?
If
Or
they
reaching
assume
out
you'll
to a
struggle
loved
to
one
remember
to
awaken
awaken
your
your
heart, find a plan too
Please share your
complicated
answer in the
or
comments
lack the
below,
energy to make
so
changes.
that others in
they
our
might hold
community
back
can
on
learn from
offering
your
certain
perspective
treatments
too.
entirely.
And before we
And
close,
while that may
let me
sound like
ask
they're
for your
trying to make
support.
things easier for
If
you,
you found this video
it can
meaningful,
actually mean
if
you
it
end
gave
up
you
with
comfort,
less effective care
inspiration,
than you deserve,
or even one simple idea
this isn't
you can
always
carry
about
into your
bad
mornings,
intentions.
please subscribe
Sometimes
to
it
Beyond
comes from
60
stereotypes.
Wisdom.
Leave a comment with your
formed
thoughts.
over years of
Share
seeing
this
older
video
patients
with your
who
friends
do
so
forget
they
a
too
dose,
can benefit.
misplaced
And know that we
instructions,
read
or
every
struggle with
response
multiple
with
prescriptions.
prescriptions.
Your
But the
encouragement
problem
is
is
what
when
gives us the
assumptions
strength
are
to
applied
keep
to
creating
every heartfelt content.
The
for
truth
you.
is,
Thank you.
plenty of
Truly,
people in their
for
70s and
spending
80s
this time
are
with
perfectly
us.
capable.
We are
of tracking
honored to
their
walk
medications,
alongside you in
following
this season of
detailed
life.
guidelines,
and we look
and
forward
even
to
researching
bringing
their
many
own
more
health
conversations to make
that
informed
matter.
decisions. Yet when a doctor assumes otherwise, the result can be life-changing, and not in a good way. I remember talking to a woman named Carol, who was 79 when she was diagnosed with a heart condition. Her first cardiologist gave her the simplest plan possible. Just a couple of medications, nothing more, because he assumed she wouldn't want to deal with anything more demanding. But Carol wanted more than that. She wanted to take control, to fight for her health with everything available to her. When she found a new doctor who took the time to explain all the options you take every single medication
day,
combinations,
those you trust to keep
diet
your body
changes,
functioning,
exercise
quietly
routines,
interfering
she
with
was
your
able
mind.
to manage her condition
Imagine this.
far better than before.
One morning you wake up
Her health
and
didn't
realize
just
you
stabilize.
can't remember a
It
conversation
improved
from
because
last
someone
night,
finally
or the
trusted her
directions to to handle the full plan for years. This is why your role in your own shrug matters so getting older. If your doctor sees that you are engaged, many memory lapses, blame notes, bringing up concerns may actually be linked. They're more everyday medications sitting in your bedroom, of a watered-down version. Research shows that certain common prescriptions might taken daily by millions of people over 6 lifestyle strategies increase the likelihood work alongside medication by as much as half. Preventive steps that here's the chilling from bigger problems later on. It can creep up slow. Without that, almost you're left making decisions until one day you find yourself wondering what might have been independence is slipping away.
The heartbreaking thing
Wisdom beyond 60,
that
dear
many
everyone.
older adults
I
never
want you to
know what
think
they've
carefully
missed.
about this. They trust
The
their
risk
doctor
doesn't
hasn't
come
given them
from
the
the
best
best
experimental treatment,
not realizing
it
that
comes
best
from
pill
was
was so
defined
ordinary
under the
that you
assumption
might not even
they
question
couldn't
it.
manage anything more.
Blood pressure tablets,
This is
sleep
where
aids,
you have more
allergy
power
remedies,
than you think.
and even some mood stabilizers.
Every time you
These are the
demonstrate
quiet
your willingness
companions
to
in many
participate
households.
fully in your treatment,
But behind the
you
promise
chip
of
away
relief,
at that assumption.
some of them can silently
Bring a
affect the
notebook
way
to
your
your
brain
appointment.
processes information,
Ask for written
stores
instructions,
memories,
and maintains
repeat
mental
back what you've
sharpness.
understood, so your
This
doctor
isn't about
knows you're
fear-mongering.
listening.
It's about
Show that
awareness.
you're committed to following.
It's about
through.
knowing
no
what
matter how
questions to
detailed
ask your
or
doctor,
complex the plan
what
may
patterns
be.
to notice in your own
Because
mind.
here's the reality:
what choices might
following
give
a
you the chance to
treatment
hold
plan
on
isn't
to your
about
clarity
age
for years
It's
to
about
come.
clarity.
Because
support,
what if it
and
isn't just
determination.
aging?
If you have
What if
those
the
three
fogginess,
things,
the
you can take
forgetfulness,
charge of your health
the sluggish
just as
thinking
effectively
has
as
been
someone
fueled by
decades
something
younger.
you were never
And when
warned
you
about.
do, you're
Think
far
about the
more
shock
likely
of
to get the
realizing
level
that
of
your
care
brain has
that
been
truly
carrying
matches
your
your
burden
needs,
for years,
not just your birth year.
and all along.
So the
you
next
thought it was
time you're at
just
the
time
doctor's
catching up
office
with
and they
it.
outline a plan,
That's
listen
why
carefully.
today's video is
and then
so
ask,
important.
is there anything
I'm going
else
to
we could
uncover
try?
4
Any other
categories of
options you haven't
everyday
mentioned
pills
yet?
that
One
researchers
question
connected with
might
higher
open a
risk
door you
of
didn't
memory
even know
loss.
was there.
More
And behind that
importantly,
door,
I'll
could
show
be
you
the
the
warning
treatment,
signs to
the
look out
approach,
for,
and
the
how
opportunity
simple conversation
that
makes
your
all the
healthcare
difference
provider
in how
can
well
make all the
and how
difference.
fully you live.
You may discover
There's a
that small
reality many
adjustments,
people would rather
guided
not
by
face,
professional advice,
but it happens
could
quietly
restore a
in
sense of
hospitals
clarity
and clinics
you
every
thought was
day.
gone forever.
Sometimes age
And as
itself
we
becomes
explore
a
these
silent
stories,
factor,
you'll
who
see
gets
real
more time,
examples of people
more
just like you,
resources,
and
more
more
attention
attention
from their doctors,
retirees. It's not always
caregivers
intentional,
who found themselves
and it's
slipping
rarely
into
spoken
confusion,
about openly,
only to
but
learn
the
that the
truth
culprit
is
was
that
hiding
when
in
medical
plain sight.
professionals are under
If this
pressure,
opening has sparked
when
your
appointments are
curiosity,
stacked, and decisions
if you
must be
ever
made
worried
quickly,
about those moments
some may
of
instinctively
forgetfulness
devote
and
more
wonder
focus
if
to
there
younger
might be
patients.
another explanation.
The reasoning,
Stay with me
unspoken,
until the end.
is that younger people have more years
What
ahead
you'll
of
hear
them,
today
and
could be the
therefore
turning
more
point
to gain
in how you
from
approach
aggressive
your health and your future.
But here's what that line of
Before we
thinking
dive into the
overlooks.
details, I have
Life
a
at
small
75,
request.
80, or
Please
beyond
take a moment to
is still
subscribe
right.
to Beyond 60
Those
Wisdom
years
and hit
those
the notification
days,
bell.
those moments are no
By
less valuable
supporting the
than they
channel,
were decades
you not
earlier.
only encourage me to
A
keep creating
treatment that
videos
restores
like this,
mobility,
but you
relieves
also
chronic
join a
pain,
growing community
or
of
returns
people
the energy
committed
to
live
live
independently,
independently, can
clarity,
transform
and
not
dignity.
just how long you live,
Your support
but
helps
how well
spread
you
knowledge
live.
that could
And
save
yet when
someone
doctors
else's memory.
prioritize age over individual
Now,
health and potential,
let me leave you with a
older
question to
patients can be
reflect on,
sidelined
and I'd
in
love
ways
to
that
see
are
your
subtle,
answer in the comments
but
below.
significant.
Think
It can
honestly
appear in
about your
small
own
ways,
experience, like which
questions.
tests are ordered. When you notice
A
forgetfulness
younger
after
patient with a
60,
certain symptom
do you
might
usually
be
believe
sent
it's
for
just
immediate imaging
A,
or blood work,
normal aging
while an
that
older
can't be
patient
changed,
with the same complaint
B,
is told
something
to
that might
wait
have a
and
hidden
see.
cause worth
Sometimes
exploring.
it's in the options presented.
Comment your answer, A or B.
surgery might
share
be
your
offered to
thoughts.
someone in their
Your
40s
perspective
without
could
hesitation,
help someone else who's searching
but
for clarity
quietly
right now
withheld from someone 20 or 30 years older because the doctor assumes recovery will be too difficult, without even asking if the patient is willing
High
to
blood
try.
pressure is
I
something
once met a
countless
man named
older
Richard,
adults manage
82
every
years old,
single day,
who loved to walk.
Doctors
every
emphasize
morning.
its importance because
But
keeping
severe
it under
knee
control
pain
began stealing
can
that
prevent
joy from
devastating health
His
events.
first doctor dismissed the idea
What is less
of knee
commonly
replacement
discussed,
surgery
however,
outright
is that not
saying
every
it was
type
too
of blood
much for
pressure
his
medication has the
Richard
same
left
effect on
feeling
the brain.
defeated,
As
Some
if his age
medicines,
had closed a door
while
that might
effective
have
for the
kept him
heart,
active for years
may
to
also
come.
pass into the brain.
Refusing to accept
and interact
that,
with the
he
systems
sought a second
responsible
opinion.
for learning and memory.
The new surgeon
This
looked
is
at his
not an
overall
immediate,
health,
dramatic
his activity
change.
level,
and
his
his
determination,
subtle,
not just his
and
date
can
of
be
birth.
easily mistaken for normal
They
aging.
moved forward with the surgery.
But in truth, the difference
Richard
lies not in
recovered
age
beautifully,
alone,
and
but in
within
how
months
these
he was
drugs
back to his
interact with
morning
the body's
walks,
delicate
smiling
balance.
like a man who had
The
gotten
brain
a piece of his
relies
life
on
back.
steady blood flow.
That's the
much
point.
like a river feeding a
Age
city.
should be just
When
one
the flow
factor
is
in
strong
the
and
medical
even,
decision,
every
not
part
the
of the
deciding
deciding
factor.
thrives.
A
But
doctor's
when the
role
current is
should be to
restricted
weigh
even
your
slightly,
current health,
certain
your
neighborhoods
goals,
begin to
and
suffer
your
first.
willingness to undergo treatment.
That is what can
Not
happen
to
in
assume
regions
what's
of
best for
brain
you
based
based
on
on
new
numbers.
memories.
As a patient,
They may receive
that
less
means you need to
oxygen
be
and
clear
fewer
about
nutrients
what
than
you
they
want.
need, which makes it harder to store and recall information. Speak up. Over time, if a procedure is this can show up because of your age, finding words, ask forgetting recent events, and ask if there's another doctor who might view your case differently. Or waking up feeling mentally heavy. There is a quiet dignity in fighting. These signs don't necessarily mean permanent decline, but they are important. It's not about demanding the impossible. I remember it's about reminding the people in charge of their father that you're a retired worker, you're in late 60s, and your happiness has always been sharp and no matter your age. But after a change in the conversation from How
He
long
began
will they
forgetting
live?
familiar
To
directions.
how well can
and
they
repeating
live?
the same
The
questions.
possibilities change
His
entirely.
children feared that he was
Your
facing
health
something
story should never be
irreversible.
written with age as
Yet,
the first
when
and
his
last
cardiologist
sentence.
reviewed his prescriptions
And sometimes
and
all it
recommended
takes
a
to
different
change
class
that
of
is
blood
your
pressure
voice.
medicine,
Steady,
his clarity began to
confident,
return.
and
Within
unwilling to let
weeks,
assumptions
he described
make
the
the final
sensation
call.
as if a
One of the
curtain
most
had lifted.
subtle yet limiting assumptions some
His
doctors
experience
make
highlights
is about
a
what
truth
matters
that
to
is
you
both
once you reach your
sobering and
70s or
hopeful.
80s. Sometimes
Without
what
even
feels
realizing
like an
it,
inevitable
they may
slide
quietly
is actually a
decide
side
that
effect
your
that can
priorities
be
revolve
adjusted
only
with the right
around
professional
staying
guidance.
comfortable and maintaining
The
the
point
basics,
here is not to
rather
spread
than
fear
actively
or to
pursuing
encourage
the
anyone
things
to
that light
stop
you
a
up
life-preserving
inside.
treatment.
They might
These
think
medications
at
are
this
vital,
stage,
and
they're
stopping
not
them
going to be
without
chasing
medical
big
supervision
dreams
can
or
be
making
dangerous.
bold plans.
The point is to encourage
And so they
thoughtful
frame your care
conversations
around survival.
Ask your
not
doctor.
fulfillment.
Are there alternatives that
While the
protect
intention
heart
may be
without
to spare
affecting
you
the mind
effort
or
or
strain?
strain?
This
Are there
mindset can
options
rob
such
you
as
of
ARBs
opportunities
or
that
calcium
could
channel
make your
blockers
later years
that
richer,
might provide the
more
same
vibrant,
cardiovascular
and more
benefits
meaningful?
with less impact
I've
on
seen it
cognition?
happen when someone mentions
These are
knee
not
pain
questions of
and is
rejection,
immediately given
but
a
of
prescription
refinement.
for pain relief,
Ensuring
with
no
no
discussion
discussion
of
of the
physical
whole
therapy,
person,
body,
surgery,
and mind
or
together.
lifestyle changes that
It is
could
also
restore
worth
their
considering
full
the
mobility.
timeline. If you have
I've
been on
heard
the
of
same
patients with
medication
chronic
for
conditions
years
and
and
have
felt
felt
stable,
stable,
take it
new
easy.
memory
At
challenges
home,
may be caused
rather
by
than being
something else.
encouraged to prepare for
But
a
if
trip they've
symptoms
long
appear
dreamed
soon
about.
after a new prescription,
The focus
that
stays
connection
on
should be
managing the
taken
condition
seriously
instead of helping
Often,
them live fully with it.
families dismiss
This
changes
isn't
as
because
just
doctors
aging,
don't care,
when in reality
it's
the
because
timing
they sometimes
points to a
forget
different
that older
explanation.
adults still have goals.
Recognizing that
passions,
pattern could
and
mean the difference
milestones
between
worth reaching.
years of unnecessary
Take Ellen,
frustration,
for example,
and the
an
possibility of
81-year-old
renewed
grandmother
clarity.
who had a
Advocating
clear
for
and
yourself
heartfelt
can
goal
feel intimidating
to fly overseas,
but it is one of the
visit
most
her granddaughter.
powerful tools you have.
She lived with a chronic lung
Bring
condition,
printed information
and
to
her
your
doctor's
appointments.
initial advice.
Write
was to
down
stay
the changes you
comfortable at
notice in
home,
your thinking,
implying
encourage
would be
open
too much
dialogue
for
with
her.
your healthcare provider.
But Ellen wasn't looking for the easy
Remember,
road.
your
She was
quality of
looking
life
for a
is
way
not
to
only
make
measured
her
in
dream
blood pressure
possible,
numbers,
but also
when she
in
sought
your
a second
ability to remember
opinion,
conversations,
her new physician
follow
follow
a
a
favorite
conversation
book, or
differently.
keep up with daily routines.
Instead of telling her
without
what she
confusion.
couldn't do, he
Those
asked,
moments of
"What do
mental
you want to be able
sharpness
to do?
are part of what
And how
make
can we
life
get
rich.
you there?"
And they deserve
Together,
protection. They
just
built
as
a
much
plan,
as your heart does.
adjusting her medication,
What emerges
introducing
from this
targeted
is a lesson
breathing
in
exercises,
awareness,
and gradually
modern medicine
increasing
offers
her
many
stamina.
choices.
6
the
months
right
later,
fit often
Ellen
depends
boarded
on
that
the
flight,
details of each person's
and the
body
joy of
history.
holding her
By
granddaughter
noticing
made
every
every
ounce
ounce
of
of
effort
effort
worth it.
speaking up and being
Stories
open
like
to
Ellen's
adjustments
remind us that
you
the
give
best
yourself the
medical
best
care
chance to
isn't
remain
just
not
about
only
treating
physically
symptoms,
safe,
it's
but
about
mentally
aligning
clear.
treatment
The
with
message
the
here
life
is
you
one
want
of
to live.
empowerment.
And to
Aging
make that
does not
happen,
have to mean
you can't
surrendering to
assume
your
confusion.
doctor automatically
If we
knows
pay
your
attention
personal
to how
goals.
treatments affect us,
You have to tell them.
with knowledge,
Whether it's returning
with
to gardens
questioning,
and with the right
joining
guidance,
the local choir,
it is possible
hiking
to
with
protect
friends,
both your heart
or traveling
and your
across the
memory.
country. Your care should support those ambitions. That means being willing to speak up in the exam room and say, "This is what I'm aiming for." Sleep is one of
How
the
can
most
my
powerful
treatment help me
allies
get
we
there?
have for protecting memory.
By sharing your vision
Yet
for your
many
life,
older adults
you
struggle
invite
to
your
get the
doctor
rest
to
they
see
need
you
as more than a patient
the natural
file
rhythm of
or a
sleep
list of
often
lab
changes
results.
with age.
You become
And instead
the
of
whole
seeking to
person in their
understand the
eyes.
root causes,
Someone with dreams,
it is common to turn to
commitments,
pills
and reasons
that promise
to fight
quick
for
relief.
better health.
That
What is
shift
rarely
can
explained
completely
is
change
that
the
some of
kinds
these
of recommendations
sleep
you
medications
receive,
may quietly
from
interfere
maintenance
with
strategies
brain
to
processes
proactive
that
and
make
empowering
rest
plans.
restorative. Your later
On the
years
surface,
can hold
they
just
help
as
you
much
drift
growth,
off,
adventure,
but
and
beneath
personal
that
meaning
calm
as
exterior,
any other time
they
in
can
your
disrupt
life.
the brain's
But
filing
only
system.
if you and your
The
healthcare
delicate
providers
mechanism
work
that
towards
takes the
those
events
goals
of the
together
day
and secures
so
them
don't
into
let
lasting
anyone,
memory.
not even a well-meaning
One of the
doctor,
main culprits is
quietly
a group of drugs
decide
known
that
as
you're done reaching for more.
anticholinergics. These are
Make
found
your
in
priorities
certain
known.
over-the-counter sleep
Make
aids,
them part of the
as well as some
conversation,
prescription
and
options.
insist that your care be
They
shaped to
block
help
a
you live
neurotransmitter
not just
called
longer,
acetylcholine,
but better,
which
plays
plays
a
a
crucial
crucial
overlooked
role in
aspect
learning
of
and
healthcare
memory.
for older adults.
Think of
Isn't about
acetylcholine
blood
as
pressure,
the librarian of your
medications,
brain.
or lab results.
Each night, while you sleep,
It's about the emotional
carefully
weight that
sorts
aging
and
can
stores
carry,
the information you
and how
encounter during the
profoundly
day.
it can shape physical
But when
health.
this system is blocked,
Too often,
the
this
librarian
part of the
cannot conversation never happens in the doctor's
The result
office.
is that the memories you intend
Physicians
to keep
might focus
may be
on
scattered,
treating your body,
lost,
while
or
never
leaving your
properly
heart
stored
and
it
mind
all
out of the equation.
Over time, this
They
can
may
add up,
assume that
leaving
feelings
you
of
feeling
sadness,
as though your
worry,
mind is
or
wrapped in
loneliness
fog.
are just a normal
There was a
part
woman
of
named
growing
Ruby,
older,
a grandmother,
not realizing how much those emotions
depended on a
your
common
sleep,
nighttime pill
appetite,
to sleep,
energy levels.
For
immune
years,
system,
she believed
and
it was
even your
harmless.
recovery from illness.
But gradually, her family
truth
noticed
is,
that she
aging
struggled to
brings
remember
more than
simple
physical
details.
changes.
Sometimes
It can mean
names
saying
of her
goodbye to
grandchildren.
people you love.
They feared her
adjusting to a
mind
new
was
pace
slipping
of
away
life,
permanently,
or learning to live
Yet
with
when
her
her
doctor
doctor
helped her
helped
taper off the
medication,
these shifts
guided her to
quietly
a safer
chip away at
alternative.
your spirit,
Something
if they aren't
remarkable
acknowledged and addressed.
Within a matter of weeks,
I once
Ruby
spoke with a
felt
man
sharper.
named Leonard.
Her
Her
memory
memory
returned in
54
ways
years.
that surprised
When his
even
wife
her
passed
children.
away,
His
what
health
they
began
thought
to
was
decline
irreversible
at an
decline
alarming rate.
turned out to
Not
be a
because of any
reversible
new
effect of
disease,
a drug,
but
because
because
grief had drained his strength.
The signs
Every
can be
doctor
subtle at
visit
first,
focused on
You may
adjusting
wake
his
feeling
medications,
groggy instead
yet
of
no one
refreshed,
asked how he
or you
was
may find it
coping,
harder to
or whether
concentrate
he
the
had
following
support
day.
at home.
You
It
may
wasn't
notice
until a
that
neighbor
forgetfulness
suggested
worsens
counseling
over time
that Leonard
and
began
the clarity
to feel a
you
spark
once
of
had
life again.
seems harder to
His
grasp.
energy returned.
Some describe
his
it
physical
as
health
thinking through
improved,
molasses,
and all because
or as
someone
if their
finally
mind is
saw
covered
and
in a
cared
heavy
for the
blanket.
emotional wound.
These
beneath the
changes
surface.
can be dismissed as the price
Emotional
of getting
well-being
old.
isn't a luxury,
But
it's
in
a
truth,
pillar of overall
they may be
health.
linked to the medications used
When it's
night
ignored,
after night.
people can feel
What
invisible.
makes the situation
even
more
in a room
concerning
full of medical
is that the
professionals.
effect can be
They might
cumulative.
answer, "I'm fine,"
The
when
longer
asked
the
how they're
use,
doing,
the heavier the
either
burden
because
on
they
the
don't
brain.
want to bother the doctor.
There are alternatives,
or because they've come to
instead of
believe their
relying on
feelings
sedatives
aren't
that mask the
important in
problem
world
of medicine.
Many people benefit
But
from
here's the
addressing
reality.
deeper causes of poor
Telling
sleep.
your doctor that you
Sometimes another
down,
medication taken during
anxious,
the day
or disconnected
is disrupting rest.
is not complaining.
In other cases,
It's
giving
conditions
them
such
the
as
full
sleep
picture
apnea
they
or
need
restless
to help
legs
you
are
heal.
involved.
Gentle
If you've been
approaches
carrying
like
the weight of
melatonin,
loneliness,
magnesium,
loss,
or lifestyle
or fear,
changes,
keeping
keeping
it
it
out
regular
loud,
bedtime, avoiding
not only
screens
does it
before
help your
sleep,
doctor
creating a
understand you
cool
better,
and dark room,
but it opens the
work
door
with
to
the
solutions
body
you
rather
might
than
not have
against it.
considered.
Support
And if
groups,
medication is still
therapy,
necessary,
community
there are
activities,
newer
or
options
simple
designed
lifestyle
to minimize
changes
the
that can
impact
lift your
on
mood
memory
and in
thinking.
turn,
It is
improve your
important
physical
to
health.
understand that stopping
Studies
sleep
have shown
aids
that
sudden
when emotional
is
needs
not
are
the
met,
answer.
recovery
That can
is
be
faster,
unsettling,
energy
even
levels
unsafe,
rise, and the
people
real
regain a
solution is a
stronger
gradual,
sense of purpose.
guided approach with a healthcare
Good
professional
healthcare should
who
always
knows your
treat you as a
history.
whole person.
The goal
That
is
means
not
your
simply
mind,
to close
your
your
feelings,
eyes at night,
your
but
experiences,
to give your brain
and your
the
relationships
deep
deserve
sleep
as
it
much
needs
attention
to remain
as
sharp.
your vital signs.
Because sleep
Sometimes
is not just rest,
one heartfelt
it is the
conversation
nightly
with a
repair
doctor
process
who
that
truly
preserves
listens
independence,
can be as
clarity
powerful as
and
any
vitality.
prescription.
The lesson here is
And
to
in
pay
many
attention.
cases, addressing emotional
If the
health
pills that
doesn't
help
just
you
make you
sleep
feel
are
better.
leaving you more confused,
It can make you
less
physically
alert,
stronger,
or increasingly
more resilient,
forgetful,
and more
it may
able
be
to enjoy
time
the
to
life you
question
built.
whether they are truly serving. So as you think about your own
Sleep
health,
should renew the mind.
remember this: not
Your
rob it of its
emotional
strength.
well-being is
By
not
seeking
seeking
out
out from
safer
your physical
choices,
well-being.
by
They
listening
are
to the
deeply
signals your body
connected,
gives, and
you open the
both
possibility
deserve
of
care.
mornings that feel brighter,
The next
clearer,
time you sit
and
across
more
from your
alive.
doctor, and
Don't
that,
hesitate to share
more
what's
than
really
anything
on your heart.
is what healthy aging
The
is
right
about.
words, spoken at the
Protecting
right
both the
time,
nights that
might
restore
not
you
just change
and
your
the days
day.
that follow. They could change the course of your health. As we've uncovered these unspoken truths, one thing becomes clear: allergy
Aging
season
does
may
not
seem
diminish your
harmless
value,
enough,
your
but for many
dignity,
older adults,
or your
it
right
comes
to
with
be
an
seen and
unexpected
heard.
cost. The
Yes,
medications
the body
taken
can
change,
ease,
sneezing,
but the person
watery
inside,
eyes, or
your
congestion
memories, your
may
wisdom,
quietly
your
weigh
sense
down
of
the
humor,
mind.
your ability to dream.
The older generation
remains
of
just as real
antihistamines,
and
which
important
are
as
still
it ever
sold in
was.
pharmacies everywhere.
Too often,
Our
older
older
adults
adults
are
are
seen
seen
through
through
the
the
narrow
narrow
lens
These
of
drugs
their
do not
years,
only
rather
block
than the
histamine,
fullness of their lives.
the chemical behind allergic
When that
reactions.
happens, healthcare
They
can
also
become
affect
less about
acetylcholine,
helping you live
a key
well,
neurotransmitter,
and more
involved
about
in
simply
memory.
keeping you
When
going.
both histamine and
But you
acetylcholine
deserve
pathways
more
are
than that.
suppressed, the
You
brain's
deserve
alertness
care that
drops,
listens
and
to your
memory
concerns
formation is disrupted.
without brushing them off
It can
as
feel
just
like a
old
double
age.
blow.
Less
Care
clarity,
that trusts you
less
to handle
sharpness,
information,
and more
follow a
fog
plan.
settling in over time.
Care that values your goals.
I think
and
of
care
Vernon,
that sees
a
your
man in his
emotional
60s
well-being
who loves
as
spending
essential to your
hours in his
health.
garden.
The
truth
Every
is,
spring, you
when
have
pollen
more
fills the
influence
air,
over
he
this
relied
than
on
you
an
might
older
think.
allergy
You
pill
can
twice
shape
a
the way
day
your
just
care
to
is
get through
given
the
by
season.
speaking up,
At first,
asking
it seemed
questions,
harmless,
and making your
but
priorities
gradually
clear.
his wife noticed
If
he was
something
losing
feels
track
wrong
of
in your
conversations.
body, don't accept
Forgetting
the easy
important
answer.
appointments,
Push
and
for
seeming
clarity.
slower mentally mentally
If
during
you want
those
to know
months.
every treatment option,
They assumed it was
say
fatigue
so.
or simply
If you have
age
dreams you're
creeping
still
up.
chasing,
But
share
when a
them.
doctor suggests
And if you're feeling the weight of loneliness,
generation,
loss, or fear,
antihistamine,
tell someone.
one that
A doctor
controls
can only treat
allergies
the part
without
of the story
crossing
they know,
deeply into the brain,
and you hold
his
missing
alertness
chapters.
and memory return.
The deeper lesson
What
here
looked like
is simple
seasonal
but
depression
powerful.
or cognitive decline,
You are still
was
the
in
main
truth
character
a side
in your
effect
own
of
life.
the very pills
Your
meant to
health
bring him
journey
relief.
is
not something that just happens
This story
to you.
isn't unique.
It's something you can take
Many
part in
people
shaping.
notice
That they feel mentally
At
dull
60,
during allergy
70,
season, 80,
and
or
chalk it up
beyond.
to being under
You
the weather.
still have the right to advocate
Yet
for
often,
yourself. It is not
to
the
seek out
allergies
second
themselves,
opinions,
but
to
the
demand
medicine
that your
chosen
care
to fight
reflects
them
who you
that
are
creates this
and what you
mental
value.
haze. And when
The
you
good
do
news
this,
is that
you're not just
alternatives
improving
exist.
your own life.
Newer
You're setting an example
such as
for
loratadine,
others around you.
Satyrosine,
Showing that age
and
is not a
fexofenadine
reason to step
are designed
back
to
from
relieve
living
symptoms
symptoms without significantly
So how can you
affecting
apply
brain
this
function.
today?
They
Start
cost little
with
more
one
than the
simple
older
act.
drugs,
Choose
and in
to be
many
an active
cases
partner
are
in your
available
health.
in affordable.
Write down your
generic
questions
forms.
before your next
Choosing
appointment.
them can mean the
Bring a
difference
trusted
between
friend
enduring
or
months
family
of
member
clouded
with
thinking
you
to help
or enjoying
remember
the clarity
what's said.
you deserve
Keep a
year-round.
record of your symptoms
The same
and
principle
how they
of
change
awareness
over
applies
time.
to certain
And perhaps most
antidepressants.
importantly,
Depression
remind
itself
yourself
can
every
impair
morning
memory,
that you are worth
concentration,
the effort
and motivation,
worth the time,
making it
the
difficult to
attention,
separate illness
and
from
the
side
resources
effects.
it takes
Some older
to help you live
antidepressants,
your best
particularly
life now.
tricyclics, have strong
Now, I'd like to ask you
anticholinergic
something.
properties that
If you
interfere
could tell
with
your
the brain's
doctor
ability
one
to
thing
stay sharp
about what you truly want
Even
from your
certain
life and your health,
SSRIs,
what
which
would
are
it
more
be?
modern, may
Please
cause
share
what
your
patients
answer in the
describe
comments.
as cognitive
Your
blunting.
words might inspire
People
someone else
report
to
that
speak
while
up
their
for
moods
themselves too.
stabilize, their creativity
If you
fades,
found this message
their
meaningful,
thoughts slow,
if it spoke to
and
you
their
in
ability
any
to
way,
recall details
I warmly
weakens.
invite you to subscribe
Consider
to our
Maxine,
channel.
a retired
Leave a
teacher
comment with your
who had
thoughts,
taken an older
and we will listen
antidepressant
closely
for nearly
to what
a
you
decade.
share.
While
Here
her
at Beyond
sadness
60
had
Wisdom,
lifted,
we want to
she
walk
began
this
to
journey
struggle
with
with
you
word finding
every day, and her family
so we can keep
feared
creating
it was the
videos
onset
that
of something
uplift,
irreversible.
inform,
With
and
her
inspire.
psychiatrist's guidance, she
From the
transitioned
bottom of
to
my
a newer
heart,
medication.
thank you for
that
spending your
maintained
time
her
with
emotional
us.
balance.
Your presence
but
here is
carried
a
fewer
gift,
cognitive
and it's what
effects.
keeps us going.
Within months, she felt clearer, more engaged, and more like herself again. Her story demonstrates that mental health treatment and mental sharpness do not have to be at odds. With the right guidance, both can be protected. The difficulty is that depression and medication side effects can look alike. Low energy, difficult to concentrate, forgetfulness. One clue lies in timing. If cognitive struggles appear or intensify after beginning a new prescription, the drug
Have you
itself
ever
may
woken
be
up one
contributing.
morning and realized that
This does
something
not
you've
mean
loved
giving
for
up
decades
treatment. It
suddenly
means having a
feels
conversation about
different?
alternatives,
The
combining
coffee you've
medication
sworn by
with
for
therapy,
years tastes
or
oddly
exploring
flat.
lifestyle practices
That
such as
favorite
regular
dessert,
exercise,
the one that used
which
to
is
make you
known
close
to
your eyes
improve
and
both
delight,
mood and
now
cognition.
feels like it's missing some
The
magic.
thread that ties
Or
these
maybe,
examples together
out of
is
nowhere,
choice.
you've developed a craving
Whether it is
for
an
foods you've
antihistamine
barely
for
touched
allergies
in the
or an
past.
antidepressant for
It's as
mood,
if your taste
not all
buds have
medications
quietly
have the same
rewritten
impact
the
on
menu
the
of your
brain.
life
Without
asking
asking
your
your
permission.
permission.
And recognizing
Wisdom
the
beyond
signs gives you
60.
power.
Dear
Feeling
everyone,
mentally sluggish,
this is where the story
does not
gets
have to be
interesting.
accepted as the
Most
inevitable
people
march
think
of
aging
age.
is just about
It
wrinkles
may be a
or
side
slower
effect
steps,
worth questioning,
but there's a quieter,
protecting
more
memory
personal
is not about
transformation
rejecting
happening
medicine,
inside you,
but about
one that
selecting
even your
the
doctor
right
might
kind,
not mention.
guided by professional advice.
After the age of 75,
so that both body
your
and
relationship
mind
are
are
cared
cared
for.
The comfort,
In the end,
the
clarity
joy,
of thought is
the
one of the
memories
most precious
tied to
assets
it
we
starts
have
to
as
subtly
we grow
shift.
older. And here's by
By
paying
paying attention
attention
to
to
how
how
medications affect
these
us,
changes
by
aren't just
asking
questions
questions
or
and by
moods.
being open to
They're
adjustments,
rooted deep in your
we
body's
safeguard
sensory
more than our
system.
health. As
We
we
protect
age,
our
our
sense of
taste and smell
stories,
begins to
and
lose
the
its
independence
sharpness.
that make
Taste
life
buds,
meaningful.
once quick to react,
Start to slow down. The pathways that
When we
carry
look at
flavor
all of these
signals
stories
to your brain
together,
may no
one
longer
message
fire as
becomes
efficiently
clear.
as they used to.
Memory
And
loss is not
because
always
smell
an
plays a
unavoidable
massive
part of
role
aging.
in how we experience flavor.
Sometimes the fog
Even
that
the
clouds
richest,
the
most
mind is
seasoned
not the
dish
result of
can
years
seem
passing,
oddly bland,
but of everyday
when you know
medications
it's picking up
quietly
the
working
same
against the
details.
brain.
Add to
That
that
truth
the
is
influence
both
of
sobering
common
and
medications.
empowering.
Many
Sobering
of which
because it
you
reminds us
distort
how
flavors,
vulnerable our
and
mental
you've got a
clarity
recipe
can
for a
be.
whole new dining
And empowering
experience.
because it shows that
But
with
it's not just
awareness
flavor.
and the right
You
guidance,
might find yourself
there is
reacting
room for
differently to
change.
texture and temperature too.
Think about Walter,
The chilled
a
fruit you once
74-year-old
found refreshing
grandfather
might now
who
feel a
seemed
little
to
too
be
cold
slipping
for
away
sensitive
from his
teeth.
family.
On the
He
flip
struggled
side,
to recall the
warm and
names of his
soft
grandchildren,
foods may feel like
got
a gentle
lost
hug
on
from
the
the
inside,
inside, driven for decades,
comforting
and could
easy
no longer
and
follow the
satisfying.
plot of his favorite books.
None of this means you're losing
His
your
daughter
enjoyment
began
of life.
researching memory
It
care.
simply means your
Fearing
body
he
is
was
adapting,
but instead of
reshaping
accepting
its own
decline
comfort
as
zone.
inevitable,
Here's
his
where
doctor
it gets
reviewed
truly
his medications one by
These
one.
shifts can either dull your appetite
Over several
and
months,
make mealtime
they
feel
replaced
like
his
a
blood
chore,
pressure
or
drug
open
with
the
a
door
different
to an
class,
entirely
discontinue
new
the
world of
nightly
flavors.
sleep aid,
Imagine
shifted his allergy
experimenting
treatment to
with
a
safer
safer
options
option,
you once ignored,
and adjusted his
a
antidepressant.
sprinkle of cinnamon on
Slowly,
your morning oat.
Walter returned.
A dash of
His
rosemary
memory
over roasted vegetables
grew sharper,
fresh herbs
and his his family described it as having him that never did before. At 76, this isn't just he now volunteers at the library. It's about reads complex novels, joy, and travels with his wife. His nutrition, however, living example the anchor that the mind can sometimes fading sense of taste can sometimes lead to eating less. Which risks missing out on essential nutrients. The brain is resilient, is balanced. Even in later healing flavors, it has the capacity to adapt, vibrant vegetables, gain strength, lean protein, given the right conditions, and wholesome grains. Too often, we accept mental decline as fate that's not only in reality health, it may be also a pleasure factors we can address. And maybe that's the biggest lesson. That does not mean every problem relationship disappears with a change in medication. It evolves,
but it does
just
mean
like
that
paying
you,
attention,
if
asking
you welcome that
questions,
change
and
with
seeking
curiosity
alternatives
rather than
can
frustration,
make a life-changing
you might
difference.
discover new
This
favorites
is why
that suit your
awareness
needs now
matters
better than ever before.
When you notice unusual
Mealtime can
forgetfulness,
still be a
sluggish
celebration,
thinking, or
a place for
confusion,
connection.
it is easy
laughter,
to label it
and
as
maybe
aging.
even a few surprises
But if
along the
you
way.
or a loved one recently
Before
began
we
a
go
new
further,
prescription,
I'd
it
like
may
to
be worth a
invite
closer
you.
look.
If you're
The
finding
key
this
is not
journey
to
into
act
the hidden
alone,
truths
but
of
to
aging,
open a
both
conversation
surprising
with a
and
healthcare
valuable.
professional.
Hit
who
that subscribe
understands
button, both the
turn on the
physical
bell
and cognitive
Your
side of
support
treatment.
keeps this channel going.
Advocating
and inspires
for
us
yourself
to keep bringing
is not
you
about
more of these
rejecting
eye-opening
medicine.
conversations.
It is about finding the
Now,
version that supports
let's make
your
this
health
fun.
in the fullest sense.
Here's a question for you to
What
ponder
we
and
often
answer in the
overlook
comments.
is that
If you
independence
woke up
is built on
tomorrow
clarity
and your favorite food
remembering
suddenly tasted
conversations,
completely different,
following routines,
what would you do?
staying connected
A,
to loved ones,
try to
these are
adapt
the threads
and
of
find a
daily
new
life.
favorite.
Protecting
Fight
them
to
is just as
recreate the
important
old
as
taste,
protecting the heart,
no matter what it
the
takes.
lungs, type
or the
A or
bones.
B in the comments.
And sometimes
let's
the
see
first
how
step in
everyone
protecting
feels
them
about
is
this.
simply knowing
There's a
that
quiet
side effects
shift
exist
that often goes
and that
unnoticed
alternatives
until
may
it's
be
already
available.
shaping the way you live your
This
days.
journey we are on together
It's
is
not
about
dramatic.
fear.
It's not
It
the
is
kind
about
of
hope
change
and
you see in the
empowerment.
mirror.
But
It
it
is
can
about
affect
reminding
every corner
ourselves
of
that
your
aging
well-being.
does not mean surrendering
I'm
to
talking about
confusion
the way
without
your
a
body
fight.
senses
by
and
paying
responds
attention
to
to
the
the
surroundings,
signs,
by
starting
speaking
with
up,
something as
by
simple
refusing to dismiss
and as
changes
vital
as
just
as
old
the
age.
feeling of thirst.
You give yourself or your loved
You
ones
might
the
assume
chance
that
to
thirst is
experience
something you
more
can
years
always
with
trust,
clarity
a
and
natural
dignity.
alarm bell that rings the moment
In
your
the
body
next
needs
part of our
water.
discussion, we will move
But
beyond
after
the
the
age of
medication
75
and look
that
at the
alarm
everyday
grows
choices,
faint. Lifestyle
hours
habits,
can
natural
pass without a
supports,
single
and
signal.
mindful practices,
Even if you haven't had a
that
sip
can
all
help
day.
preserve memory even
You might
further.
believe you're fine
Because the goal is
until
not
fatigue
only to
creeps in,
avoid
your
your
head
head
feels
feels
heavier,
but to
or
build
your
a
mouth is
foundation
suddenly
of
dry
strength
and
that
uncomfortable.
supports the mind as
By
well as the
then,
body.
your body has been quietly
The
running
future of
on
your memory
empty.
is not written in
The
stone.
reason for this
and with
is
knowledge,
deeper than habit.
you can take
The
steps
brain's
today
command
that
center
keep
for
tomorrow
thirst,
brighter.
the hypothalamus, becomes less responsive over the years. The kidneys, which regulate fluid balance, can also lose some of their
As we
precision.
come to the close
And
of
many
this
older
journey
adults,
together,
aiming to
I want
avoid
you to
frequent
pause
trips
and
to the
reflect
bathroom
on what we have
reduce
uncovered.
their water intake
So
on
much of what we
purpose,
tend to accept
unknowingly
as the normal
making the
process of
situation
aging
worse.
may not be inevitable.
This combination
at all.
sets the stage
The
for
stories
chronic
of Clarence,
low-level
Ruby,
dehydration,
Vernon, Maxine,
the
and
kind
Walter
that doesn't just
remind
make you
us that
thirsty.
memory loss,
It can
foggy
affect your
thinking,
energy,
or confusion,
your mood,
do not
and
always
even your
come
ability
from time
to think
alone.
clearly. Sometimes
The
they are
signs
the
are
hidden weight
subtle
of
but
medications that, while
that help in
mid-afternoon
one part of the
slump
body
you chalk up to age,
quietly strain
it might be
another.
your body begging
The
for
powerful
hydration
lesson
here.
A
A
mild
mild
mind
headache
can often
unexplained
regain
muscle
muscle
cramps
when we pay
or skin
attention,
that feels less
ask
supple than
questions,
it used to,
and work with doctors
These are
to find
quiet
better
messages
options, telling you to
that
replenish
awareness
your
is not
fluids.
only knowledge,
But because
it is
thirst
freedom.
itself isn't sounding
truth
the
is,
alarm,
your brain
it's
has an
easy to miss
extraordinary
them.
resilience.
Unlike hunger,
Even later
which
in
tends
life,
to
it has
demand
the
your
ability to
attention,
adapt,
this muted
to
thirst
heal,
is
and to
easy
restore
ignore.
sharper thinking when
So
given
what's
the
the
chance.
solution?
This
It's
is not about
building
rejecting
hydration
medicine.
into your life as
It
a
is
habit,
about balance,
not as a
It is about
reaction.
remembering that your health
Keep
is
a
not
glass
only
of
measured
water
in
where you
numbers
spend most
or
of
test
your time.
results.
Start
but
and
also
end your
in the
day with a
quality
few
of your
sips.
days.
Even
The
if you don't
ability
feel like
to
you
remember
need
your granddaughter's voice,
incorporate high
to
water
keep
foods
track
into
of your
meals,
garden,
fresh
to
melon,
follow a good
juicy
story,
oranges,
to sit
crisp
with
cucumbers,
friends,
and share memories
herbal teas
without
can
the
be a
haze of
soothing way to
confusion.
take in fluids without relying
Those
only on
moments
plain
are
water.
the fabric of life.
The goal isn't to
And they
force
deserve
gallons down your
protection
throat,
just as much
but
as
to
your heart
maintain a
or your
steady
lungs.
rhythm of hydration.
So what is
that
the lesson
supports your
for us
body
today?
without overwhelming it?
It is to never
And
settle
then
for
there's
less
another
clarity
change,
than you deserve.
one that's far more
If you
visible,
notice changes
yet
in
just
your
as
memory,
quietly
do not
life
shrug them
altering.
off as just age.
The way your skin
Look carefully
responds
at
to
the
the
time
world around it.
Did they begin
After
after decades of
prescription,
sunlight?
did they
wind,
worsen
and
gradually
gradual loss
with
of
certain
collagen?
pills? Skin
If
becomes
so,
thinner,
let
more
that
delicate,
signal
and more
start a
sensitive to
conversation
touch.
with your doctor.
What once might have been
Ask
a
if there
harmless
are
bump
alternatives.
against the edge of a table.
Bring notes
can
to
now
your
leave a
appointments.
dark bruise.
Share your story
A brief
openly.
moment in
You are
midday
not
sun
powerless
can cause
in this
redness
process.
or irritation.
You are a
faster
partner
than
in
ever
your
before.
own health. Even the
For
fabrics
older
that
adults,
once felt
this
soft
lesson carries
might
even
now
more
create
weight
a faint
because
itch or scratchiness
independence and
against your
dignity
arm
are tied so
this isn't
closely to
vanity,
memory.
it's biology.
biology, protecting your mind, the fatty layer beneath your skin, freedom to live one that cushions and protects it. The positive takeaway here is simple. The tiny blood vessels closer to the surface, by being proactive, are more vulnerable. And by working with your healthcare team, oil production you give yourself the best chance skin to drier and less elastic, with strength and as the body loses and some of its natural healing speed. This is not just a minor injuries or scratches. It is about living to fade. With both you might even notice that and your mind on a countertop leaves a temporary. Now I want to leave you with that wasn't there before. When you caring about your skin now means adjusting. Do you believe memory loss is always just part of breathable fabrics can minimize irritation? Or do you believe there may be hidden causes? Fragrance-free moisturizer used regularly. Please comment below with your answer. Restore the skin's and let us all learn from one another's perspectives. Sunscreen isn't just for long days outdoors. If you found this video a short errand in the sun, I ask from the heart. So please subscribe to Beyond Shade to become allies. Leave a comment.
What's often
with your
overlooked
thoughts is how
Share this
hydration
video
ties
with
into
your
skin
friends
health
and
as
family
well, so they too can
Drinking
be
enough
informed.
water helps maintain
And let us continue
elasticity
this
and
conversation
resilience
from
together.
within. Your voices,
Foods rich in
your
healthy
experiences,
fats,
avocados, walnuts,
olive
give us
oil
the strength
can
to
nourish
keep
your
creating
skin structure
content that
just
matters.
as much as any cream.
From all of us here,
And when
thank
small
you
cuts or
deeply for
bruises
spending
do
your
happen,
time with us,
cleaning them promptly,
may we walk
and
this
protecting
path
the
of wisdom
areas
side by
healing
side
and
each day
reduces the
clearer
risk of
and
infection.
stronger than the last.
It may feel strange to treat your own skin as something fragile when it's been your first line of defense for decades. But in reality, it's a sign of strength, a testament to everything your body has endured. By recognizing its changing needs, you're not giving in to age. You're working with it, making thoughtful adjustments so you can keep doing what you love without discomfort or unnecessary risk. So as you move through your day, take notice of the quiet cues. A dry mouth, a tired afternoon, a patch of skin that feels more sensitive than usual. They're not inconveniences. Have you ever conversations your body is having, hoping to be heard? The more you listen, feeling invisible, the more you can
Many
respond
people
in
over
ways
60
that
experience
keep you
the
feeling
same
not
thing.
just well,
And here's the
but
shocking
comfortable,
part.
steady.
It's often not
and in
because
control
the doctor
of your own
doesn't
life.
care. It's because
And
of the
this is
very
only
words
part of
we
the
use
story.
in those first moments.
There are other changes
Words
just
that
as
seem
harmless,
just
polite,
as impactful,
or even
that
self-deprecating
begin to shape the way you
can
interact
quietly
with your
sabotage
surroundings.
the care we receive.
And they might surprise you even
Imagine
more than
this.
these. In less
One of
than
the most
30
humbling
seconds,
realizations
a simple phrase
that
can
come with
decide
life
whether
after
your
75
appointment is rushed through
is how
or
differently
taken
the body
seriously.
bounces back from
It's
even the
unsettling,
smallest setbacks.
but it's the reality most
A
seniors
mild
never
cold
realize
that once
until
passed
it's
in a
too
few
late.
days can now linger well
Wisdom
over a
beyond
week.
60, dear everyone.
A small cut that
Today,
used to
I
heal
want to
quickly
uncover something that
may
may
demand
feel
more attention
uncomfortable,
and patience,
even a little unsettling.
It's not that you're
but
doing
it's
anything
necessary.
wrong. It's that the
For
body's
decades,
repair
studies have
systems
shown
have
that
the
naturally
way
older
older
adults
adults
describe their
your
symptoms
immune
can
system,
trigger hidden
the quiet
assumptions in
guardian
healthcare
working day and
providers.
night to fend off
Not
illness
intentional,
and restore damaged tissue,
not malicious,
doesn't
but
operate
automatic.
at the same speed and force.
And
it
once
did
that mental
decades
switch
ago,
is flipped, you can be categorized.
the production of
dismissed,
specialized
walked out
immune
with
cells
nothing more than a
becomes
quick
slower,
prescription.
and the ones your body
Think
does
about
make
that.
may not be
A
quite as
single
efficient.
casual phrase
Circulation,
can be the difference between
which plays
early
a key
detection
role
of a
in
serious
delivering
nutrients and
nutrients
oxygen
and months
for
of
healing
unnecessary
can also
suffering.
lose some of its vigor.
The truth is,
The result,
many of us have unknowingly trained our
recovery that
doctors
takes
to
longer,
see us through the wrong
and
lens.
illnesses or minor
We chuckle,
injuries,
we
that
apologize,
feel more
we
draining
brush
than
things
they
off
used
as
to.
just aging. This shift
But
changes
every time
how
we
you
do,
experience the rhythm
we
of
hand
your
them an
day.
excuse not to
In the
dig
past,
deeper.
you may have
This
powered
isn't about
through a
blame,
sniffle or
it's
about
about
awareness
fatigue
without missing
It's
a beat.
about breaking free
Now,
from silent habits
pushing
that
yourself
strip
too
away the
quickly after
respect
even a
and
minor
attention you
illness
deserve.
can leave you feeling worse.
What makes
not
this
better.
even more powerful,
It's a
and
reminder
perhaps
that
even
the
heartbreaking,
pace your body needs
is knowing
is
that
not
these
a
small
weakness.
choices in
It's a
language
sign
can
of
ripple
wisdom
into
and
massive
action.
consequences.
Slowing down when
It's
not
necessary,
exaggeration
allows you
it's
to
reality.
heal more completely.
I've met
and
people
avoid
who carried
compounding
symptoms
the
for
problem.
years, dismissed over and over.
Patience becomes a
until
tool
one
for
day
health.
a second opinion
That could
revealed
mean
something
giving
that
yourself
should have
an
been
extra
addressed
day or
long
two
before resuming
And the
a daily
heartbreaking
walk
part,
after feeling under the
It
weather.
wasn't that their
or
bodies
resting a
failed
little
them.
longer before taking
It was
on
that their
household
words
chores.
betrayed them.
This
They
doesn't
didn't know the
mean
hidden
surrendering
weight
to
behind a
inactivity.
single sentence.
It means aligning your
When you
actions
realize
with
how
what your
fragile
body can
this
genuinely
communication
handle
balance
at the
is,
moment.
there's
It changes
also a
everything
deeper opportunity
about how
hidden
you approach your
in this
next slower
appointment.
recovery.
Prevention.
This video will
The
reveal
more
the
you can
5
reduce
most
your risk of
damaging
illness or
phrases
injury,
many seniors
the
use
less
without
often you'll have to
realizing
navigate
the
these
cost.
extended recovery
Phrases that
periods.
sound polite but
Staying
quietly
up to date
undermine
with
your
vaccinations,
voice.
especially
Phrases that
for
make a
seasonal
doctor
flu or
assume your pain
pneumonia,
is simply
helps
part of life.
fortify your defenses.
Phrases that leave
A
you
nutrient-rich diet
But here's the
supports
good
immune
health
health
from the
You can
inside out.
change it.
While
And
gentle,
once you do,
consistent
the
physical
difference in
activity
how you are
keeps
treated can
circulation
be
strong
staggering.
and muscles ready
Doctors
to
who
support you.
once brushed past your concerns
Even simple
suddenly
daily
pause,
habits, like
listen,
washing your
and
hands
investigate.
regularly,
all because
avoiding
of how you
prolonged
choose to frame
exposure
your
to
story.
people with contagious illnesses.
If this
and using
opening
safe
has
techniques
already
when
made you
lifting
stop
and moving
and think,
around,
can
then
make
stay
a
with
big
me until the
difference.
end. Because the
Equally
strategies I'm
important is
about to
listening
share
closely to
may
your
very
body's
well
early
change
signals.
the way you are
Fatigue,
cared for from this
changes in
moment forward.
appetite,
Unexplained
and before we
aches,
dive
or even
deeper,
shifts in mood,
let
can
me
be
ask you
early
to
markers
support
of
this
something
channel.
your system is trying to
Please
address.
hit the subscribe button
Responding
and help
quick beyond 60
whether that's
grow.
grow,
Extra rest,
so I can continue
hydration
creating
videos
or
that
check
give
in
you
with your
tools
doctor
and confidence
can shorten
to
recovery
speak up
time
and prevent
be heard.
complications and get the respect you
It's
deserve.
worth noting
in
that
every
slower
healthcare
recovery
setting
doesn't only apply to
Now I
illness
want to
or
leave you
injury.
with a question to
It can
reflect on
also
before we
apply
go
to
further.
how
your body
Which do
responds
you
to any
think has a
physical
bigger
stress?
impact
on how doctors
Even
treat
routine
seniors?
medical procedures procedures, A, dental work, the symptoms or changes in medication, B, can leave the way we describe more depleted than you might drop expect. Your answer, A or B, knowing this in advance allows you to plan for the downtime you might need, and it may inspire someone else being caught off next doctor's visit in a brand new emotional side of slower recovery is just as real as the physical. The second phrase
It's
that
easy to
quietly
feel frustrated
undermines the
when
health
your
of
body
so many
won't
older
bounce
adults
back the way
is
it
one
once
that
did.
comes from a place of
But
politeness.
shifting your perspective
Even
can
humility
turn that frustration
It is
into
the habit of
respect.
walking into the
For the
exam
years your
room,
body is sitting
carried you,
down,
for the
and
countless
starting
challenges
with,
it has already
"I'm sorry to
overcome,
bother you."
and for the way it's still
On the
working
surface,
to protect you
it sounds
every day.
respectful.
It sounds
Instead
like
of
you are
measuring
acknowledging
health
how
by
busy your
speed,
doctor must be.
you can begin to measure
But
it
underneath
by completeness.
what you are actually doing
Did
is
you
sending
give yourself
a
the
message
time to
that
heal
your
fully?
concerns are not
Did you
important
support your
enough
body
to
in
take
ways
up
that
time?
help it regain its
And
strength?
whether you realize
Those
it or not,
become the new
that
benchmarks.
single apology
And here's
can
something
cut
to
your
remember.
appointment short,
Shift
slower
the tone of the
recovery doesn't
conversation
mean you stop living
and make your
fully.
symptoms seem
It
less
means
urgent
you
than they
live
truly
more
are.
intentionally. Studies have
You
shown that when
prioritize
patients
what matters
begin their
most.
appointments with
You
an
give
apologetic
energy to the
tone,
people and activities that bring you
consultations
joy,
often become noticeably
and you
shorter.
allow your body the rest it
Doctors,
deserves,
already pressed
so it
for
can
time,
continue supporting you for
unconsciously
years to
mirror the
come.
message you've given them.
This is not a
That your
retreat.
issue isn't
It's
the
serious.
smarter way of moving
That you are
forward.
asking for just
In
a
the bigger
quick picture,
picture, honoring
that they
this
can move
slower
on
rhythm
without much
is
investigation.
about self-respect. You
It's
might
about
think you are being
recognizing that
considerate
health at this stage
but
of
what
life
you are actually
is not a
doing
race
is
to the
lowering
finish
the value of
but
your
a
own
careful
health
balance
in
between
the eyes of the
activity
professional
and
sitting
restoration.
across from you. You can still
And this
challenge
can have
yourself,
life-changing
try new
consequences.
things, and keep growing.
Take
But
the
you do
story
it
of a
with the wisdom
woman
of
in her late
experience,
60s,
knowing
who
when
had
to
been
push and when to
experiencing
pause.
recurring discomfort in her
Because
chest.
here's the truth. For months,
Every day,
each
you give
time
your
she
body
saw
the
her
care it
cardiologist,
needs.
she would
You're
begin
not
her
just
visit
helping
with
it
an apology
recover from the last challenge.
I know you're
You're
busy,
preparing it
she'd
for the
say.
next one.
And this is probably
And in that
nothing,
preparation,
but I
lies
just
the
wanted to
power to
mention
keep
these
living
little
on your own
pains.
terms.
Each time,
No matter
the
what
doctor
changes
would listen
time
briefly,
brings,
offer
one of the most
reassurance,
surprising
and
adjustments
move
that can
on.
come with life
It wasn't
beyond
until her
75
daughter accompanied her
is the
and
way your
noticed this
relationship
pattern
with sleep
that things
begins
began
to
to change.
With
With
encouragement,
encouragement,
she
sleep has
tried a
always
different
been a
approach.
dependable constant.
Instead of apologizing,
A natural
she
reset
started
button
with
that restores
Doctor,
energy and
I've been
focus.
experiencing chest
But with
pain
age,
3 times a
it can
week
take
for the
on a
last
new
2
and
months.
sometimes puzzling
Usually,
rhythm when I climb stairs.
You might find yourself
It lasts
falling
about
asleep
5
earlier than you
minutes
ever
each
intended,
time.
waking before the first hint of
That
daylight,
shift in tone
or
changed
struggling to stay
everything.
asleep once you've
The
drifted
doctor
off.
immediately ordered further
Even when you
tests,
think you've
which
gotten
revealed
enough
a
hours
serious
in bed,
condition that
you
needed
may
prompt
still
attention.
rise feeling as though
What had
you
been
didn't
brushed
quite
aside for
recharge
months
was finally taken
The
seriously.
reason isn't just getting
all
older
because
in
she
a vague
stopped
sense.
apologizing
It's
and
rooted in the
started
very
presenting her
architecture of your
symptoms as
sleep.
important medical information.
As the years
This
pass,
is the
the amount of
truth.
time spent in the
Your
deep,
doctor became a
restorative
doctor to
stages
hear about problems
naturally
like
decreases.
You
These
are not a
stages are
burden.
where your body repairs
You are not
tissues,
an inconvenience.
strengthens the
You are
immune
the very
system,
reason their
consolidates
profession exists.
memories, and resets
When you say, "I'm
emotional
sorry to
balance."
bother you," you create
Without as
distance.
much time in this
You
deep
make it
rest,
easier for them
you
to
become more
minimize your
vulnerable to
concerns.
waking during the night.
But when you speak
From a
with
passing
clarity
noise
and
without
without
change in
apology,
temperature,
you step
or the
into your
simple
rightful
urge to
role
use
as
the
a
bathroom
partner in your own care.
Hormonal change
The shift
also
is not
play a
about
role,
arrogance,
especially the
It is
gradual
not about
decline
being
of
demanding.
melatonin.
It is
The
about
hormone
owning the
that helps
value of
regulate
your health
your
sleep
and
and
understanding
understanding
that time spent
lower
on your well-being
melatonin can make it
never
harder to
wasted.
fall back asleep after
Instead of
waking in the middle of the
apologizing,
night. Try a different
And
opening.
daily habits that
Doctor,
once had no
I have
effect,
important
like
health
a short
information to
afternoon
share
nap,
with you,
can now subtly
or
disrupt
I've
your
been
ability to
tracking
sleep
these soundly
symptoms,
later on,
and
I'd like your expertise.
There's also the
Those
influence
words
of
immediately
lifestyle
frame
shifts.
you as prepared,
Many older adults
thoughtful,
spend
and
less
engaged.
time outdoors.
They tell the
which
doctor
means
that
less
you are
exposure to
serious,
natural daylight,
and that what you are
This
about
life
to
is
share
a
matters.
powerful signal to your body.
When you stop
internal
apologizing for being
helping
in
it
that
understand
room,
when
you
it's
begin
time
to
to be
command the
alert
attention you
and
deserve.
when it's time to rest.
You stop being
Without
a
that
passive
consistent
figure,
cue,
hoping for
your
scraps
body's
of time,
timing can drift,
and instead
leaving
become
you
a
wide
voice that
awake at
cannot
odd
be
hours
ignored.
or tired.
Your
from
presence
the
there
act.
is not a favor granted by your
Medication,
doctor, especially
It is a
those
service
for heart
you are
health,
entitled
blood
to.
pressure,
One
or
you
chronic
have earned
pain
by choosing to
can
seek
also
care.
interfere with sleep quality.
So the next time you
Sometimes
catch
in
yourself
ways that
about
aren't
to say,
immediately obvious,
"I'm sorry to bother
while
you,"
these changes can
pause,
feel frustrating,
replace it with confidence.
they're not a sentence.
Remember
to
that the
restless nights
language you
forever.
choose sets the
Instead,
stage for
they're
everything
a
that
call
follows.
to approach sleep with
Your
more
health
intention.
deserves more
Creating
than
an
an
consistent
apology.
bedtime
It
and wake
deserves
time
your full voice,
can help signal to
spoken
your
clearly,
body when it's
without
time to wind
hesitation.
down. Even
And
if
when
you
you
don't
claim
feel
that
sleepy right
space,
away,
you may find
keeping
that
your
your doctor
bedroom
begins to
cool,
see you
dark,
differently.
and quiet,
Not
gives
as
your
a
body
burden
the
to be
best
hurried
chance
through,
to stay asleep
but
once
as a
you've drifted
partner
off.
worth listening to.
Avoiding
avoiding caffeine late in the day
worth serving
and
with
keeping
the full
naps
measure
short
of their
can reduce
expertise.
those wide-awake moments at night. Light, too, is a powerful tool. Stepping outside for morning sunlight can help reset your body quietly undermines the credibility of many older adults and is one you may have used without even thinking to bright screens gives your brain a clear internet says it's time to prepare for At first glance, it seems harmless. And if you find yourself awake at night, staying informed rather than lying in bed is a sign of responsibility. A short, quiet activity, like reading something light, you try to understand what your body is telling you. But when those words come out of your mouth in the exam room, some people can trigger that waking earlier in how your doctors see rhythm. And if they feel alert as a thoughtful patient schedule, there's no reason to fight as someone playing amateur physician. Realize that someone who comes in with a ready-made diagnosis concentrating during the day is a sign of a deeper issue. And in that moment, like sleep apnea of trust or restless leg syndrome that needs attention from a healthcare
Doctors
provider.
are human beings with years of training and experience,
but they have also seen countless patients about walking their doors, convinced by online symptom checkers. You could spend the same number of hours in catastrophic did 20 years when you begin with. But if I read online that I might have stages, many doctors unconsciously brace themselves for a debate rather than a collaboration. Accepting this reality allows you to defensive reaction often results for better rest rather than chasing an idealized version of, and in some cases, dismissal of your concerns. And perhaps the most empowering what was meant to show initiative can instead backfire. Changing sleep leaving patterns are not a measure of weakness or decline. Take the story of simply an adaptation who had been another way your body is recalibrating for this stage of life. He searched online by working read about those changes instead of against panicked. You can rush to his doctor and blurt it out. Leave you refreshed. The internet says I might have day ahead. It's not about forcing yet another alarming self-diagnosis. It's about creating him off quick that fit who you are now, home with little honoring basic your body's needs. But when he approached his next appointment differently, in the describing his better sleep after 75, and only just then mentioning that he had done some reading. It's about vitality. The result, restorative nights mean sharper thinking. He said, steadier mood, doctor, and I've had a cough 3 weeks face that feels different from any cough I've had. That's a reward worth making changes. I read that changes in the cough underestimated sometimes point later serious condition is how changes. Could you help me understand what might quietly reshape your ability to move safely? That framing shifted the doctor's attention. While many assume balance issues, and this time his concern was treated with the seriousness it deserved. The truth is that your vision plays not far greater role in stability than most. It was in how the information was presented. As you age, this illustrates a powerful truth to subtle change. Research on your health so valuable you might not know how you share it until they start affecting the way you move. Doctors respond positively. Depth perception show diminish over time, yet making it harder to judge the exact location of instead of positioning yourself as someone who already knows the answer. Position yourself as a partner, side awareness that helps you detect movement or obstacle. For example, turning you might say, can slowly notice this new symptom. Even your eyes is and I've read that it could have several possible explanations. Like when you move, could you help me understand what might apply in my case? Can slow down. These words momentarily keep the door open for collaboration. Conditions such as cataracts, that you respect the doctor's knowledge, macular degeneration, while also can develop gradually, engaged in your chipping away at the visual cues. Even physicians admit that they appreciate curious and proactive patients. Changes so tricky, but only when the information don't feel dramatic constructively. You might simply a doctor once explained that when a patient says familiar place, I've done some reading, or that you have questions before stepping off, it shows genuine interest countless times and invites a meaningful conversation. The connection to vision isn't always when a patient insists your brain adapts. I have this condition because the internet told me until the changes become the appointment pronounced into a battle against misinformation. But when your eyes stop sending, and in that battle, the patient often loses the chance. Your body has to work harder to keep its balance. The lesson here, especially not to stop research, busy, cluttered information is power, and taking the time to understand your health opens the door to adaptive responsibility. The regular eye exam research more than just a routine, rather than your first line of defense against when you position your doctor as a partner in updating prescriptions promptly, you gain their treatable eye conditions early, and ensuring you have proper lighting when you position yourself can make a dramatic difference. Already knows hallways, you risk shutting down the very dialogue that could help you most, even light. So remember, the chance of misjudging your step. Words are not just a reflection of what you know. A good pair of glasses, they are the anti-glare how your doctor can help you maintain clarity. Use them wisely. Light conditions. Share your curiosity, but vision is only part of the balance guidance. Rather than demand validation, other systems that because in the delicate space of a can help you adapt when your sight isn't being heard. Gentle activities like Tai Chi, often begins yoga, with how water aerobics to open the conversation. Build muscle control, improve posture, and train your sense of spatial Another awareness. Phrase that even simple daily exercise quality of care. Standing on one foot sounds simple, a counter, but it carries practicing slow, deliberate. It is when someone says space. I can't build your body's ability to respond when or it's been going on for less reliable. But I'm not sure. There's another sensory shift that adds these to the vague timelines. Your body's reduced sensitivity, but in the eyes of a doctor, and they can immediately raise questions. Your skin's receptors quickly told you when you were reliability too hot. Instead of guiding the physician toward an accurate diagnosis, they create uncertainty. Can be muted. And when uncertainty you might step outside on a brisk doctors often turn and feel only mild discomfort or assumptions even though the temperature is low enough rather than addressing the actual symptom you came in to discuss. In summer heat, You may not
Consider the
realize
case
you're
of a woman
overheating
in her
until
early
symptoms
70s
like dizziness
who went to
or
her doctor
unusual
because
fatigue
of
set in.
overwhelming fatigue.
This change happened
When asked
because
when
the
it
body's
began,
temperature
she replied,
regulation
"I don't
systems
really know.
become less
It's
responsive.
just been
happening for a while now. Circulation,
The
may
doctor
not adjust
noted
as
possible
quickly to
memory
protect
impairment
you
in
from
her
a
chart,
cold,
and
and
sweat
ordered
glands
may
expensive
not
cognitive
activate
tests.
as effectively to cool you.
But
in
the
the
root
heat.
cause of her fatigue
Certain
wasn't
medical
memory-related
conditions
at all.
like diabetes or
Later,
heart disease,
with the help
can
of her
intensify
son,
these effects.
she reviewed her
as can
calendar
common
and
medications
realized
for blood
that her
pressure,
symptoms had begun
allergies,
about
or
12
depression.
weeks earlier.
Adapting
Shortly
means
after
taking
starting a
proactive
new
measures
prescription,
rather than waiting for
armed with this
discomfort
clear
to guide you.
timeline at her next
In cooler
appointment,
weather,
the
dressing
doctor
in layers,
immediately
wearing
recognized
hats,
the likely
and
connection
protecting your
between
extremities with
medication
gloves and her
can make a
fatigue.
big difference.
Once her treatment
In
was
warmer
adjusted,
months,
her energy
light,
returned
breathable
within
fabrics,
weeks.
shade,
The
and
difference
access
was
to air
not the
conditioned
condition
spaces
itself
helped prevent
It was the
overheating.
precision of her
Staying
words.
hydrated is critical.
Doctors rely
not just
on
for overall
timelines
health,
the way
but
detectives
because
rely
proper
on
hydration
clues.
supports your
When
body's
you can
ability
say my
to
back
regulate
pain
temperature.
started 3 months ago, right
Preparation
after I
is
lifted
just as
heavy
important
boxes,
as reaction.
or the headaches
Before
began
heading
2 weeks
outdoors,
after I
check
switched
the
to new
weather
glasses
and plan your
give them a
activities
starting
for the
mildest parts of the
But
day.
when you say it's
Keep
been
a small
going on
fan
for a
or
while,
portable heater at
you
home
leave
to
them
fine-tune
searching
your
in the
comfort.
dark. And in
Pay
that
attention
darkness,
to subtle
assumptions
cues,
creep
a sudden wave of tiredness.
Too often, those
slight
assumptions
confusion
lead to
or a
misdiagnosis,
change in skin
unnecessary
color
testing,
can be early
or
signs that your
overlooked
body is
conditions
struggling to
that could have
maintain
been
a safe
addressed
temperature.
sooner.
Acting
good
on these
news
signs
is that
early
preparing
can
a
prevent
clear
serious
timeline is
consequences.
simpler than it seems.
These shifts in vision,
You don't need
balance,
perfect
and
memory.
temperature awareness.
A pocket
are
notebook,
not about
a
limitation.
calendar on your phone,
They're about
or even
adaptation.
small notes on your fridge.
By
can
understanding
become
how your
invaluable
body's signals
tools.
are changing, write down
You can
when a
take
symptom
steps
first
to
protect
prepare
your independence,
and
how often
confidence.
it shows up, and
Small
small
adjustments
adjustments
made
made
easy
consistently
have
even
the basic
power to
details
keep you moving
started
safely
after my
and
granddaughter's
comfortably
wedding
through
in
your
early
days.
October. Or
This
became
isn't about
worse
retreating
right
from
after
the
my
world.
last doctor
It's
visit in
about
January.
meeting it on your terms.
Are powerful,
Clear-eyed,
they demonstrate
steady on your
sharpness
feet,
and
responsibility,
prepared for whatever the
engagement.
weather.
They
light,
remind your
or
doctor
the
that
path
you are
ahead
paying
might
close
bring.
attention to your
Growing
body,
older,
and that you are
especially
a
beyond
reliable
75,
source of your own
is
history.
not a slow fade into the
Healthcare
background.
professionals
It's a
often
shift
say that
into
a
a
new
new
chapter
specific
and rewards.
Yet too many seniors
The
walk
changes
into
we've
appointments
explored
without
are not
preparation,
signs that life is shrinking,
relying on vague
but
recollections
signals that life is transforming.
That single habit,
Your taste may
can make the
change.
difference between
Thirst may
quick
not speak
dismissal
as loud,
and a
skin
meaningful
might
plan
need
of
more
action.
gentle care.
Sleep could follow
By
a different
showing
clock.
up with specifics,
Recovery might
you
require
change
more
the way your
patience.
doctor sees you.
Vision could subtly alter
Instead
your
of
balance.
questioning your memory,
Temperature
they can focus
awareness
on the
might
real
fade,
problem at
and
hand.
your voice may soften.